Hello, everybody. Welcome to Till the Whistle Blows podcast. My name is Sam, and joined me for today's football fun talk, as always, it's Cary Krongard. Cary, how are you doing today?
Sam, I'm good and I'm excited. There's a lot to talk about this week.
There is. I am now, for the viewers who are watching on YouTube, you will notice I have given up the Falcons hoodie. I'm actually wearing a Mets jersey right now to talk football, because my God, am I sick of watching this team right now. But we'll get into all that stuff later.
Is this your first? Have you been wearing the Falcons hoodie for every other podcast?
When we do football, I usually wear my Falcons hoodie.
So you're all, this is like when Fireman Ed left the Jets for a little bit because they
Yeah,
were
so I'm wearing my Daryl Strawberry Mets jersey for today's episode because you know what? I'm feeling it.
that's fair enough. Fair
But
enough.
with that, so why don't we get into this nice week action? What was it, week 11? Why don't we crack it off here? We had Thursday Night Football. We had the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Now, I thought the Cardinals were going to win this one. Somehow the Seahawks won it. It was 28-21. It seemed like Russell Wilson was doing much. They were out on par, it looked like here. But having Carlos Hyde back, I feel like was a great plus for that Seahawks offense.
Oh, totally. And I thought we were headed toward a Seahawk win here just because, you had Seahawks coming off a few un-Seahawk-like games, and likewise you had the Cardinals have a long home streak and going on the road for the first time in a while. But you're right. I mean, the Seahawks they played with a lot more balance in this game. Russell Wilson didn't turn the football over. He was 23 of 28 for 197, two touchdowns. You're right. Carlos Hyde was big for them, and when Carlos Hyde can is healthy, he's your primary back, and he had 14 carries for 79 yards and a touch. Russell Wilson was effective on the ground as well as through the air. And Bo Scarborough, I guess the Lions released him because the Seahawks at some I missed that transaction, but the Seahawks pick him up here. So just a balanced game. It was a good game, good kind of division clash here, back and forth, some offensive plays, some defensive plays. But for the Seahawks, I think they needed to get back to running the football here. And again, to start the season, there was a lot of talk of the fans and the analytics say let Russ cook, and the coach just said no, we have to run the ball. And it's not that you need to hide Russell Wilson and that you can't throw it, but any quarterback is going to be better when you're running the football, no matter who they are and how good they are. And we've had weeks where Russell was being asked to do everything, and now so to have the complement of a running game is something that I think he appreciates, and that bodes well for this team. And then the other thing is their defense played a lot better too. I mean, their defense has just been eaten up in recent weeks. And they got a lot of pressure on Kyler Murray in this game, and I think it certainly affected the pass game and the rushing game. The Cardinals weren't able to run the ball either, just 2.6 yards a carry for Kenyon Drake. So a good game for the Cardinals to kind of, or rather the Seahawks, to get back on the train here and kind of get back on their identity if they want to go ahead and make a playoff push and not have it all be on Russell Wilson here.
Yeah, definitely. They're starting to get a little healthier. I think the Seahawks are definitely. Well, they were missing Carlos Hyde. I bet you they're still missing Chris Carson though. So hopefully he comes back when he can. It was also a very quiet day for DeAndre Hopkins after doing what he did last week. He was only 5 receptions, 51 yards. He really didn't do much. It kind of seemed like Larry Fitzgerald was getting all the targets this time.
Yeah, old reliable was back in the mix here. Larry Fitzgerald was their leading receiver on the day. Kyler Murray, it's interesting. I always feel like I know this is crazy because I've been talking about how good he is, and this is not a knock at him, but I always feel like he plays a little worse than his numbers sometimes. Um, he had statistically he completed a lot of passes, but they do throw a lot of short stuff in the Cardinals offense, and I felt like the pressure was getting to him a little bit today. And I felt like he was a little, which he tends to be, a little frenetic, a little jumpy, tends to leave the pocket a little early. And it's nothing surprising for the Cardinals, Sam. I mean, this is still a really young team and a really young quarterback. They went down the field at the end to try to win this thing, and Murray isn't able to get the ball out on fourth down. They didn't have a lot of time
I
yet.
saw he took a bad sack. Also, as you mentioned, it's a young team, and they're also doing a kind of a new concept for the NFL. So it's not really
Right. I
they're
think
not up to par just yet with normal NFL concepts here.
I agree. I think both coach and quarterback are still trying to get their footing with regard to what does an air raid offense look like in the NFL, what kind of concepts work, what kind of concepts don't. But they had just been on such a tear in the passing game and through the air that I wasn't at all surprised that they kind of cooled down a bit on the road for the first time in a month, and I still think it's a bright future for this Arizona team. But that's what happens when you're a young team. They're going to be up, they're going to be down. Seattle is still a really good football team, and with Russell Wilson, you can win any week against anyone. So, no surprises here. I just think it was a natural road bump for the Cardinals and for the Seahawks. I just think it's good for them to show that they can play well on defense and run the football a bit here because we've seen them when it's just Russell Wilson and they kind of max out at either wild card loss or divisional round blowout. So they need to be more complete, and they, at least against the Cardinals, showed that they were able to do that today.
Yeah, you know what? It was a good definitely showing. The Seahawks definitely needed that win.
Yeah,
It was huge. Like, even if there's no fans, it's still always hard to win in Seattle. It's a tough place.
yeah, absolutely. And I just saw a stat. The Seahawks are now 10-1 on Thursday Night Football. So make with that what you will. And especially for the Cardinals too. I'm hesitant to throw out the word dome team because I think that gets a little overused. But I do think that when you're running what is essentially a track offense, which the Cardinals run, I do think that home field advantage is big for them. And like I said,
Yeah, and you're kind of right though on that one. They definitely kind of need more of a controlled environment with the
yeah.
dome.
They seem to be more effective in that setting with just because of the kind of track speed off track offense they run with Kyler Murray and spreading it out and
Yeah, honestly, last week's game would have probably been a little interesting for the Cardinals if they were in Buffalo.
yeah. And to be honest, they almost lost last week's game too. They get an amazing prayer made by a play made by DeAndre Hopkins. It was a prayer thrown up by Kyler Murray. But that doesn't and all the credit to them, but that doesn't usually happen. So as good as this Arizona team has been, they're living on the edge a bit, and Seahawks. It's a solid game, and they can put away teams in the fourth quarter, and they did that here.
They really did. So why don't we move on to some of the Sunday slate games now? One of the ones I want to start with here was we have the Eagles versus the Browns. Again, it was an ugly, ugly day in Cleveland.
Yeah, I just so the Eagles, they're just I feel like a broken record here. I don't even know what else to say. Coaching staff is struggling, the offense is struggling. Carson Wentz threw a couple really bad interceptions, one on a swing pass, another one when he was in the red zone. It was just a horrible read. He's not playing well at all. I think he's lost all his confidence. He's not making good decisions. He's missing open receivers mechanically. He's not sound. He's getting beat up front, which certainly doesn't help matters. They're just one of the more disappointing teams in the league this year. And even with Jalen Reagor in the mix, Sam, they still struggle. It's just bad. It was bad all around. I don't know. I read Mike Tanier, his NFL recap. He was saying maybe it's time to shut down Carson Wentz for the rest of the season, give Jalen Hurts a look. I thought that was an interesting idea. I don't think it's a for sure thing, but I think it's. I was curious what you thought about that. I thought it was.
My thought is if your line is getting Carson Wentz hurt, and there's only so much Jalen Hurts can do behind that O-line. Right. If you're gonna have him scramble so much, I'd rather not see a young quarterback get his confidence shot right now.
Right.
I'd let him sit for a bit. You know what? The season's kind of a runaway at this point. You're first in the division, even with the loss, which is probably the saddest thing I've had to say today.
That is horrendous.
But I wouldn't throw in this rookie quarterback into this bad situation at the moment. I'd let him try to wait a bit and not ruin his confidence real quick. If you're positive that Jalen Hurts is going to be your future, or if he's even going to be your Swiss Army knife with Taysom Hill, like you can't ruin his confidence right now. You can't throw him into the situation.
Yeah, and I think I get that for sure. And I think the counterpoint to that would be, what are you gaining by leaving Wentz out there, and how much are you damaging his confidence by leaving him out there? Whereas maybe if you make a switch here, they at least spark the team a little bit. I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting.
It's an interesting take, but I wouldn't you're ruining two quarterbacks here. If you're really gonna bench Wentz for someone who's gonna get smacked around, I'd put in Josh McCown at that point.
Mm-hmm. Because he's used to being smacked around.
Exactly, broken ribs in Cleveland. He's got destroyed in Tampa.
I forgot he was on. But I mean, the only caveat I'd add to that is that Jalen Hurts does give you a little bit more mobility, so maybe
he does. But again, that O line is as open as Swiss cheese. I wouldn't There's only so much running can do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think I think the reason it's brought up because Carson Wentz at this point, I think it's certainly hurting his confidence.
And it is absolutely.
I don't know where you go with these Eagles. I mean, it's just. I don't think you fire the coach
The
right
sad
yet.
part is they're in first place, so there's not much going
Right.
on. Like if they could roll with this.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I really they're just a sad team all around. And
On a higher
um
note, I'd rather talk about the Browns. Nick
well, let's talk
Chubb,
about the Browns.
he had
So,
114 yards rushing.
right. So here's the good news for the Browns. They're 7-3, and it's been a while since the Browns have been 7-3. I actually can't remember the last time. They might have gotten off to a hot start that Johnny Manziel year.
No, they did not.
When Hoyer was starting.
I the last time I think was when it was like the 2000s, probably.
They got out to a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, they started 5, 6, 7. They started 7-3 that year too, but then they went on to lose all but the game against Sam Dunn, the Atlanta Falcons. But yeah, no, the Browns. So the good news is they're 7-3. Nick Chubb looks like one of the best backs in the league. They run it for over 100 yards, and this is kind of their formula: run the ball, play solid defense, which they did today, and make a few big plays through the air. My only concern is their passing game here because Baker Mayfield just 12 of 22 on the day. He did get a bunch of chunk plays. Okay. He did off the play action, but they're rolling him out. They're cutting the field in half. It's a very simplified passing game. I don't think he's anywhere near the point where you have to sit him down, but I just feel like, I don't know. My only thing, I guess I'm nitpicking here, but my only thing is like what he's doing in this offense, like it's about replacement level quarterback. Like it's like what's his name? Jimmy Garoppolo when they're running the ball really, it's like they're
They're
about
running it well, and then you have a guy who just kind of comes in,
right, they're
is
about
able
10.
to do what he needs to do.
You don't need a number one overall pick to run this offense. And so he's not really doing uh, what anything certainly unique at this point. So I don't know. I mean, they're winning. You don't take anything. And I do think in their defense, the weather in Cleveland the last few weeks has been atrocious.
Yeah, I was gonna say like last week they had to delay
Yeah,
like 30 minutes. This week it was pouring rain.
with
So
pouring
it's
rain.
understandable why the Browns are kind of they were struggling a little bit in the passing game. They still haven't gotten used to this like nasty weather.
Yeah, it's old school Browns football all the way.
Old school doesn't really translate to this new school anymore.
Right.
But
But
you know what? They need to get out of that. They need to definitely have like clear weather. I feel like to have a better passing day. So I won't hold it against them.
yeah,
But like
that's fair.
he's not really. He's also trying to spread the ball. It looks like too.
Yeah.
He's doing what the Houston Texans wanted, spreading the ball to different receivers.
Yeah. So I mean, again, props to them for the win, but
It
I
was a
would
sloppy
like
game all around.
I would like to, yeah, sloppy. I'd like to see more out of their passing game moving forward because it's a 22-17 win against a horrendous Eagles team.
I was gonna say the first score didn't really cut. Like the first offensive score didn't even come until like the second half, when
Yeah.
Carson Wentz finally drove down the field because the entire first half was just defense.
Yeah, and the Browns, if I'm just pulling up their schedule here. They're coming off a 10-7 win against Houston and then a 6-16 loss against Vegas. And then but they've also had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games this season where they've scored over 32 points. So, but the problem is in losses they've scored 7 points or less. So, really, I guess again, like the Cardinals, that's what you expect from a young team. I think coaching's done a great job. Kevin Stefanski's done a great job scheming up this run game. Everyone says it's a passing league, but if you're running the
He's
Kubiak,
doing very well with the running ball.
running the Kubiak offense, like a lot of teams are, it's actually a running league. So, and so again, I tip my hat off to them for coaching well, finding a way to win. But I don't think the passing game is good enough to be an elite level team. It might be good enough to get them a winning record, but I'm looking at the schedule here. They're going to have to play Pittsburgh again. They're going to have to go to Tennessee. They're going to have to play Baltimore. Giants, Jets, and Jaguars. They can win all those games, but the other
They need to win one at least against the Titans, the Ravens, or the Steelers to really
right,
prove that they're
because
legitimate.
if they lose those 3 games, that's 6 losses for them. So you're looking at, what would that be? I guess a 10-6
10 and
season.
6.
And on its face, it's like, okay, that's great, but you're swept by the Steelers and you're swept by the Ravens, and that's who you need to beat in this division. So
Yeah, they need to pull out some big wins coming up here. For the Eagles, please, if they really want to do well, like one of these teams sadly has to win the division. I think if the Eagles really want to do what's best for them, don't win the division.
yeah, and you can't. I mean, there's there's no pride in doing that when it's you're going to be having a losing record, right?
Yeah, like I get you don't want to tank, but like no team in this division is over 500. There's a three-way tie for second right now.
Yeah, it's sad. It's it's really sad. It's just I don't know what the future is for the Eagles team. I really don't.
Honestly, the strongest team in the division right now looks like the Giants.
I mean I want to see how they do against a non NFC East opponent.
Yeah, I'd like to see how all of them do, and they
Yeah,
all are not doing so
they
hot.
all think they all the only wins any of them have are against each other.
No, the Cowboys beat the Falcons. Got to remember that.
Okay, well,
And we'll get to them later because they beat
yeah,
another team that's not in the division either.
yeah, they beat the Falcons on the spinner onside kick that the Falcons didn't were scared to
Could have
touch.
easily jumped on, but didn't.
They were playing the floor is lava or hot
Hot
potato.
potato. They're playing hot potato.
Yeah, playing hot potato.
Speaking of the Falcons, why don't we move
Yeah.
on to their game where they lost 24-9 with Matt Ryan throwing 2 interceptions?
Yeah, so the passing game was really out of sorts. I'm gonna for the Falcons. I'm gonna turn this over to you because you're a resident Falcon. I mean, what do you
All right.
make of Falcons?
You know what? That was the worst showing off of a bye week I've ever seen. Like they did nothing. Like Matt Ryan, you can't even say like Matt Ryan was having an off day. Matt Ryan was looking at the floor more than he was looking at his receivers from the amount of times he got hit. Todd
Yeah.
Gurley wasn't able to do anything. Julio had to hurt his hamstring again. And when you have a guy who hurts his hamstring, then you have to double cover Calvin Ridley, and no one is stepping up to give Matt Ryan like this dump off. Like the problem is, like they kept trying to get them to go deep, but that doesn't work when your quarterback is looking at the fucking ground so much.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, statistically, it wasn't good, and I think coming in, I was going to be like, oh, I think Matt Ryan is kind of week to week at this point in his career. But then I watched the highlights, and you're right, Sam. The fact is, they just were getting destroyed. I think the Saints had 8 sacks in this
They
game.
had 8 sacks on the game.
And it's not like it's a Saints defense that's been that impressive up to this point.
But it's like you can't expect your franchise guy to put up, 3 touchdowns with like 300 yards if you're not going to protect him. No one stood up. Cameron Jordan was like having his field day out there. And just the offense couldn't get going because the O-line wasn't defending the quarterback.
So is it is it personnel? Is it coaching? Is it both? I mean,
It's got to be at both at this point. Like Alex Mack, he's at the other end of his career right now. He's not doing. He's kind of old now. Jake Matthews, like he's a workhorse over there, but like he's only one piece to this puzzle. While
right.
you have like 3 gaping holes at the moment.
Didn't you take a couple linemen in this draft?
They took Chris Lindstrom, who is kind of still developing.
Yeah.
And they had one other guy who I can't remember his name, but he's developing too. And no, this was last year actually. They took it because this year was AJ Terrell.
And it can take time for those guys. I mean,
It's gonna take them time, but like Matt Ryan was looking at the floor the entire day. The only bright spot on this team right now, actually, there's 2 bright spots. I'll give 2. AJ Terrell did really good in his man coverage. He did what he was asked to do. He was covering Mike Thomas for most of the time, and he did what he could.
Mm-hmm.
Can't complain about that.
Yeah.
Then there was Young Wei Koo. He was 3 for 3 with 2 of those kicks coming from 50 yards.
He's only missed once on the year, which is amazing.
He has, he's missed 1 and 1 extra point, so I can't complain. He looked very shaky on the Chargers. After going to the AAF, coming back, he's done amazing.
And it's funny, Sam, actually, because Josh Lambo was shaky on the Chargers, and he also like never misses now. So maybe like Chargers just aren't good at coaching kickers.
I think this is the Adam Gase trick with the kickers. Any kicker away from the Chargers is going to do much better.
The curse of Nate Kading here. There's a kicking curse here.
Yep.
No, Koo's been. I was thinking that too. I mean, he was all over the place, in terms of his accuracy, and he looks like he'll be their kicker. But it's it's like the Giants. When I'm talking about Graham Gano, it's like you'll take it, but like when the only point you can praise on your offense is your kicker, that's not the greatest.
That's not how you're going to win a game against a division rival like this. Like Roddy White was talking so much smack before the week, and then the team puts up this. I want to see Roddy White pad up and get out there and see what he can do.
Yeah, yeah.
Because hell, if Julio's going to be hurt, let's get a real number 2 in there and Roddy right now.
I mean, their next hires are going to be they're like the Texans. They're kind of in no man's land right now, right? When you have an interim head coach, so
it's an interim head coach. You have no GM. They got to figure it out. Unfortunately, this year is kind of a runaway. I really kind of do want them to go for draft position at the moment. You
Hmm.
don't need Trevor Lawrence, but why don't we get some like? There's no, I haven't really seen any big O linemen, but like you can get like another position player or something for defense.
Hmm.
Because like,
They
look,
just
Deion Jones, he's amazing, and they have a Luakon, they have Keanu Neal, but like the front seven is what's really struggling here.
But I don't feel like they're one player away. I feel like they have a
They're not.
lot of
No, they're missing so many
they
things.
have a lot like it's sort of like the Giants we were talking, like they have a lot of holes they need to fill. So that's why this next, not only coach but general manager hire too is going to be
The general
really
manager is going to be big. On the same side of things, though, Taysom Hill, he came in. I thought he was going to be gimmicky, and he
yeah.
wasn't as gimmicky as I thought he was.
Taysom Hill gets a start, and honestly, I was pretty. Look, we know Winston's not that good, but I was not expecting Hill to start. I was pretty surprised he did. Now again, these guys are seeing them in practice, so they know what they're seeing. I think if you I guess if there's one thing you can say about Taysom Hill versus Jameis Winston is that he has way more mobility, and he's much more twitchy, and he's been in the offense for longer. So I think maybe
He
they do.
definitely has a little more understanding. One of the other things I was listening to earlier was something about Jameis is like during Jameis's time with the Bucks, what he kind of did, what his kind of play style was chuck it up and pray
Yeah,
that someone comes down with it a lot. Which
yeah.
when I was watching, that kind of makes sense. So I don't think that really works here. Like unfortunately, he doesn't. Mike Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders is not as big as like Vincent Jackson, Mike Evans, or Chris
No.
Godwin were.
Right, and I think for their style of play, they thought Taysom Hill, uh, would fit better, and they probably, understandably now probably had confidence that the Atlanta wasn't going to do a whole lot on offense, so they could kind of squeak out a win here. Hill,
They
yeah,
were able to sneak some stuff out.
Hill was 18 of 23, and he had 10 carries for 51 yards and two touchdowns on the ground. I really don't like Taysom Hill. Like, look, if I were Sean Payton, like he would have been off the roster years ago. I don't know why you're paying a guy so much to be a wildcat quarterback for Drew Brees, right? Like they're now. Having said that, they are paying him that much money. I understand. Maybe let's get him out there and see if he can be the next quarterback because there are whispers that this is Drew Brees last year. Although I honestly think Drew Brees could keep playing if he's healthy. I don't think there's like a big
The only issue I have with Drew Brees is unfortunately he is losing some arm strength,
sure,
which is
but
not going to help.
so is Peyton Manning, and he played without it for years. I don't think you need to have top level arm strength. So is Philip Rivers, right? I don't think that's the biggest
Yeah, I
impediment
was gonna say, but you're bringing those guys up. Phil right now has like one of the top defenses. Peyton Manning had a top defense when he
correct.
was with Denver, and unfortunately, I don't think New Orleans has like the top defense. Like they have a good defense, but not the top. Give me 1 second. Sorry for about that quick pause. Unfortunately, I do have a full-time job, so I had to just check in with that. So we were talking about the Saints. You don't like Taysom Hill.
Right. So, and just on the Drew Brees thing, quick, because we like to go into MJ. I get what you're saying, but I think his arm strength's been declining for a while. I just don't look. He's third in the NFL in QBR behind only Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers right now. So we'll see where he is when he comes back from injury. Peyton did have a good defense his final year when he was washed, but before then, the last few years in Denver, it was average, and he didn't throw the deep ball, but he still was efficient. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, I think Drew Brees could come back if he wants to. But
The
let's
one
say
good thing is it's not an arm injury; it was a chest injury. So he definitely he does not have to hang it up if he doesn't want to.
right, right. That's what I'm saying. But so they're looking at Taysom Hill, and they're saying we're giving him this much money. Maybe he'll be our. And Sean Payton, likes to kind of make these kind of unorthodox moves at times, pull tricks up his sleeve. I think he, would certainly take. Don't think there's not a pride issue where he wouldn't, feel good if he could kind of make Taysom Hill an NFL level quarterback.
Yeah,
So that's part of it. Yeah, he played well today. He did so against a bad Falcons defense. He was efficient. He ran the ball. He was efficient through the air. He ran the ball well. He had some help on the ground. He spread the ball around. Michael Thomas did Michael Thomas things. Alvin Kamara did Alvin Kamara things. I just I think I still am not convinced is all. And he has a really weird throwing motion. It's not like Tebow weird, but
it's definitely an awkward throwing motion. One of the things that I saw, I'm on a Falcons like Instagram page, and one of the
yeah.
things he's like is, yeah, why don't we let Taysom Hill? He's playing us mainly, so why don't we let him look so great for us that the Saints want to put themselves in cap hell for this guy? It's like that would be
Yeah,
pretty funny.
that's 4D chess by the Falcons, right?
Like, you eliminate one of your biggest competitions in Sean Payton, and look at that.
So Saints fans are going to rip me for this. I already got in a fight with a Saints fan earlier this week and saying that it was the Falcons, so it's not impressive. But yeah, and look, I could be wrong. You know, we could see him. It's too small sample size. We could see more, and maybe he'll be great, and maybe he's the next coming of Steve Young. But right, I don't. If it were me, I would not be playing him.
Well, the one thing I brought up when it comes to any of these players that we kind of see pop up, you're playing the Falcons.
Right.
Tight end for the Packers, Tony Funyon, whatever his name was, Tony Yonion. I can't figure it out, but
Runyon or Runyon.
It was something. It was one of the tight ends where he had a big game against the Falcons, but then he kind of disappeared after that Falcons game because again,
Right.
you really can't judge these players off of playing the Falcons. Because like Taysom Hill, he's gonna ball out, but how like you're proving this against the Falcons? Like when Nick Foles came in for the Bears, look at how well that turned out for them after that game.
Yeah. And again, it was a 10-9 game at the half. The Falcons didn't score in the second half. They didn't have to get in a track meet shootout. They only needed 24 points to win. They could stay committed to the running game. They could use Taysom's legs, and he only threw it 23 times, and he did what he needed to do. I mean, I think
He got the job done. That's all you can say. Like
I think it was a good coaching move, and it was a formula that worked for this game. I'm not convinced it will work in the future, and I'm not convinced that if Drew Brees retires, that he's the next guy.
No.
So
one of the things I will mention before we move on, though, because I didn't realize this, Alvin Kamara did score his first touchdown against the Falcons during this game.
that's a little shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, right. I didn't think we shut out Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, that is unusual. But I mean, just thinking about the Saints' future, I mean, they're kind of no one's talking about post Breeze, but their team is essentially three players and has been for the last few years.
Yeah, so are we going to see, like, if Breeze does end up moving on from the Saints or retiring, are they going to end up like the Patriots right now?
That's a good question, and I don't think Sean Payton's as good a coach as Bill Belichick is, and Bill Belichick is struggling right now. So
he is struggling. Well, I don't think he's used to having a pocket guy, and he doesn't have a pocket guy right now. He has Cam Newton, who's more of a scrambler.
But he's a much better defensive coach than Sean Payton. Well, look, the Saints are 8-2 right now. Great position. I think they're in position for the 1 seed.
I believe they are in the 1 seed after the Packers lost, which we will talk about later.
Hopefully they can hold on until Drew Brees comes back. But I mean, I'm just pulling up their schedule here. They go to Denver, that's winnable, and then they play Atlanta again.
Yeah, they'll be in Atlanta. That doesn't really change anything.
Their entire schedule is very winnable outside of the Chiefs. That's the only like tough matchup on their schedule. Other than that, Vikings, Carolina, Philly, Falcons, Broncos. So they're in good position right now.
They are one of the easier schedules at the end of this.
Yeah. So, again, that's people might not like it. That's my take on Taysom Hill. If I'm
that's
wrong,
fine. You know what?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So this game was a very interesting game. A little sad to see what happened, but we have the football team. They beat the Bengals 20-9. I thought the Bengals were going to win this one, but I don't think anyone saw the Joe Burrow injury coming during the game.
So I didn't actually see the play where he got injured because, NFL.com highlights didn't show it because the geniuses over there don't know how to pick plays. What was it, a scramble? Was it a sack?
No, it was a sack. He was in the pocket. Someone landed on his leg.
Okay, I'm going to see if I can. Okay. I'm
so unfortunately, it is an ACL, MCL tear. And doctors said they found a little more damage in there, so it could be worse than what it is.
Whoa, that's like '08 Tom Brady. That is.
It is, and unfortunately, since he's a rookie, his season is over. Sadly, they already said it's over. They said it was over before even he got the analysis. Like Joe Burrow went on Twitter, he's like, "Yeah, sorry guys, I'll see you next year."
Yeah, well, and again, being such a good sport, it's something like you're not rid of me. You're not going to be rid of me that easily, or something like that.
He's coming back. Just it was unfortunate that it had to happen, and it's a game recognized game when Chase Young comes up to him and he's like, "Yo, man, you got this."
Yeah. It was Chase Young and Terry McLaurin, former teammates at Ohio State. A lot of people don't know that before he went to LSU, he was at Ohio State, and he was neck and neck with Dwayne Haskins for that competition after J.T. Barrett went. Graduated, but an injury actually set him back, and he ended up transferring. Comes to LSU with like a day before they start the season, So the first half of that season, of course, he looks bad. Then he picks up in the bowl game, and then he has his legendary year last year. And what's up? Just watching this play, Sam, is that the defender was just blocked into him. Like it's not like it was a
It,
dirt
it was
free
no
play.
one's fault, really. Like I said, he kind of was like it was a freak accident that you really couldn't predict.
Yeah. So unfortunate because he's just been such a competitor. He's a young man who definitely has a future in this league, a bright future if they can build around him. And just you hate to see it and anyone. Now, hopefully he comes back and he's stronger than ever. I mean, it's an ACL tear used to be career-ending. That was it. But the medical technology has
We
evolved so much.
definitely upgraded from that. Now, the only
Right.
thing really though is we got to see what happens because even with that, they still got to build a team around him.
Well, that's the thing, Sam. I mean, it's almost a bit shades of Andrew Luck here, where you're taking, and we said it earlier, weeks ago. We said if he keeps getting beat up at the offensive line, bad things are going to happen, and unfortunately, something bad did happen.
Is you know what? They'll figure it out. But for
I
now,
hope
this season's a runaway for him.
they have to figure it. They have to, give him some protect because they are spreading it out. They are, it's a one man show. They're spreading it out, and they're throwing the football a lot. Now that's not a bad move necessarily. Their line isn't good enough to run the football, and that's Joe Burrow did a lot of empty at LSU. That's what he's good at. But you're exposing your quarterback to a lot of hits, and that was really the story this year is Joe Burrow taking.
He's getting hit too much. Now I'm looking at some of the stats here. Like the Bengals rushing game was non-existent at this point.
Right. Well, that's part. Again, they can't run. I mean, again, credit to that Washington front. I think that's part of it here.
Yeah, like Chase Young with like Ryan Kerrigan seems to be a deadly gamer going on right here.
And I read that I asked you where's Joe Mixon last week. I think he's out for the season.
I read a report he is out for the season.
So he's another one of these guys that it's looking like he's not someone you can rely on because he gets hurt too often.
Unfortunately, they have their guy. It seems like, but now do you blow up the roster around him?
I think they have pieces at wide receiver, and they have the quarterback, and other
they
than
got
that,
T. Higgins, so they've got their receiver there. Auden
right,
Tate,
Higgins,
if he wants to
Boyd,
stick around.
Right. And AJ Green, he's probably not in their future plans, but he did catch a touchdown today.
Yep, he had a game today.
Right, which has been weirdly rare. But yeah, so I think looking at Joe Burrow's rookie year, it was a solid rookie year. There were ups, there were downs. That's going to happen. But I don't think anyone's looking at Joe Burrow and thinking he doesn't belong in the league.
No, and you know what? They were saying he was definitely like one of the front runners for the rookie of the year. Now he's gone, so they're all saying Justin Herbert's going to take it.
I mean, I'll talk Herbert when we get to the Chargers.
We'll talk Herbert when we get there, but that says a lot though if he was like really like competing for that rookie of the year hard here with the team around him.
Can't say enough, and he was voted captain as a rookie, which is
So you got to give him props where props is due.
Never happens in the NFL. So yeah, it's about this coaching staff and the coach whose name escapes me, which is not a good sign.
Zach Taylor.
Yeah, Zach. It's about they need to build this team and they need to. I would start with the offensive line personally, but it's. And we were talking about that with the Falcons. It's hard to draft linemen because the college game's so different too.
It is, and it's going to take time for these guys to develop. So if you're going to draft O linemen, it's not the immediate fix. It's going to be a temporary fix. Not even a temporary fix. It's going to be a long-term process of rebuilding.
Right, unless they get someone from free agency. So
one of the things I was listening to though during the game was not even during the game, like later, was that the Bengals should get rid of Zach Taylor maybe after Joe Burrow's third or fourth year and try again with a different coach. Just because they don't want to confuse him yet with too many schemes, but they don't think Zach Taylor is going to be the future.
Yeah, so that's definitely something that could happen, but it's a weird way of thinking it. Like like I get continuity, but at the same time, like if Zach Taylor's not the guy and we know that, how much damage
you want to get rid of him, but like the thing I mentioned with Baker when we were talking about him, you don't want to confuse your rookie or your young quarterback by changing the schemes on him too much. So I understand that concept. But you are right. You don't want to keep someone around if you know he's not the right guy.
Well, that's the thing. It's kind of a lose-lose situation. And unfortunately, I'm thinking back about Andrew Luck. He got beat up a ton, too. That led to him wanting to step away from football. You can't – I know he had other interests, but you can't tell me that the injuries didn't have a part to do with that.
I was going to say, he had that. Luke Kuechly was kind of the same way. Gronk felt like that when he retired on the Patriots.
But going back to the Luck comparison too, his first coach in Chuck Pagano was a dud, and and by the time Frank Reich came in, Frank Reich's a phenomenal coach, but it was too late, right? Like Luck had already checked out
Luck
at
had
that
already
point.
checked out. I mean, I think his best time was honestly with Bruce Arians.
I agree. I totally agree. So it's a tough situation, and again, it goes back to this, great quarterbacks from college tend to be on, losing organizations. I'm not ready to throw in the towel with Zach Taylor yet, but it's hard to evaluate it because I don't know what, like, I don't know.
He had a bad season with a team that was clearly not really trying to win
Yeah,
last year. Now he's having a tough time with a team that's rebuilding.
right. I don't know what his MO is, what his identity is, what his plan is. So it's like I really can't. I'm sort of almost like agnostic on Zach Taylor because
You didn't even remember his name. That's not really a good
right,
sign.
right. That I mean, well, that tells you all you need to know right there. So,
Yeah. Let's
but
go
but
to other sad thing, the football team though.
yeah,
Like Alex Smith, he got his first win since coming back, and honestly, it didn't look like a solid game from them either. To be honest, like this just kind of seemed like a game that someone just had to win.
yeah. I just want to say one
You
more thing
got it.
about the
Sorry, I
Bengals.
cut you off.
No, it's all good. It's the tough thing too is that as much as bad players can make coaches look bad, good players can make bad coaches look good, and so that's why it's hard to separate these things
I was gonna
because
say Peyton Manning did create Adam Gase, so
right and I'm just thinking about like remember when John Fox uh was in Chicago for a bit and he got fired ultimately for Matt Nagy.
yeah.
If Chicago had drafted Pat Mahomes, John Fox probably stays there for years. Would that have made John Fox a better coach? No, it's just you have a good coach. So anyway, but moving on to Washington, they ran the ball well in this game. Gibson looked good, and J.D. McKissick looked good too. So that was good. I think Alex Smith, his numbers were not that impressive. 17 and 25 for
No, it really
166.
wasn't. Like I said, it was like this is one of those games that someone unfortunately had to win.
Right. Terry McLaurin, he's probably their best player on offense right now.
He is
Um,
going to be the future of this football team.
And he had a long reception in this game. Alex Smith threw a rare deep ball. You don't see Alex Smith go deep that often. Um, I just this Washington team. I just like at this is now the third straight week I think that Alex Smith has played. So I think it's pretty clear they've given up on Dwayne Haskins.
They've given up on
And
him. They're probably done with Kyle Allen too at this point after that
so
injury.
I personally would be playing Dwayne Haskins. Like, what is what is their future at quarterback? Like Alex Smith is not their long term answer.
No, I don't know what Ron Rivera wants to do. I don't even know if he want. Honestly, he came into a team. He came into a team that had Dwayne Haskins, and I don't think that was in his vision.
I guess not, but it's just if you I was thinking about this game, and if you think about Washington, Sam, over the past decade or two, it's like when was the last time they had a franchise quarterback? I mean, the best quarterback they've had over since in the last decade is it was Kirk Cousins for about 3 or 4 years. They didn't think and Kirk Cousins isn't great, but he was solid for them. They didn't want to pay him.
I was gonna
They
say
gave him
they
the
even drafted RG3 the year they drafted Kirk Cousins, so they really
yeah,
had no plans for him.
RG3 had a great year, right? And that wasn't even in their plan. Correct. RG3 had a great year, then he got hurt. Um, you know, they had Rex Grossman and John Beck. That was never going to work.
Well, they had
Uh,
Donovan
they
McNabb at some point too, didn't they?
right McNabb. Well, McNabb got benched for Grossman, right? So that
Yeah.
never worked. And you had even before that, you had Jason Campbell for a little bit before he went to Oakland. So like that, and then before that, it's like before my time, right? So like, what was the last time this team had a franchise quarterback
They
that
really
looked
have been dropping the ball on quarterbacks. I feel like the Washington football team has kind of been like the Chicago Bears with quarterbacks here. They're not really getting any good ones.
and they don't have one now. So I just think it's crazy. I mean, unless literally Dwayne Haskins looks terrible or has no work ethic, and it's very possible. It's very possible there's something going on behind the scenes we have no idea about. But unless that is the case, and he literally there's like something, and there's something going on that we don't know about, I think it makes no sense to play Alex Smith right now, and I don't think this team has a good direction right now, and I guess we'll see what they do in the draft, Sam.
It'll be interesting. My vote for comeback player of the year, though, Alex Smith.
Yeah, that tends to go to guys who get hurt and then recover.
Well, I mean,
So
you could give that to a lot of people, but I'm going to say, like, after that injury he took, 2 years ago now, and to be
yeah,
walking.
he had a life-threatening injury, so yeah, he'll probably get it. I'm trying to think who else would even get it at this point, and I'm not sure. So
Yeah, I don't remember who else
Probably.
has been sitting out a lot since this year's been kind of hectic.
Yeah. So probably, I think that's
Probably
a good
him.
bet. And I'm happy Alex Smith is healthy and playing football. He's not the future. He's just not.
He is not, no. And honestly, there was another injury where I was happy to see the guy got up, but he chose to retire from football. If you remember the Ryan Shazier injury from a few years ago as well,
Yeah, but he was yeah. He's
he
been
retired.
retired.
He ain't coming back.
Yeah. And so for the Bengals, they I guess they roll with Ryan Finley here. I watched Ryan Finley at NC State. He's not an NFL guy. I think they're going to try to get through the season with him, and if he's really awful, they might have to sign a guy. But my guess is they don't want to sign a guy this late in the season.
No, I
Also,
don't think they're gonna make any deep push here. If they really want to get a backup for Ryan Finley, maybe Blake Bortles will come join this team.
yeah, and that would I would be happy never seeing Blake Bortles play another down football. So
Well, why don't we move on to another game that was kind of a interesting one here, or I guess a kind of a one that someone had to win. The Panthers beat the Lions 20-9, and I did say the Panthers are going to win this one. Coming into this game, I didn't realize Teddy Bridgewater was hurt.
20-0, Sam.
20-0. But
Yeah, they got
I
shut
was
out.
not I was not even I didn't hear about the Teddy Bridgewater injury. I didn't know he was out.
I didn't either, but I do remember a few weeks ago that PJ Walker got a few snaps. I think it was in the Atlanta game, but then he
Yeah,
played.
because that was a cheap shot. But this one, he was actually out for the game. PJ Walker came in. He did have 2 interceptions in the red zone, but he did
Yeah,
turn it around, and he was able to. He got a solid win out of this. Like even with the running game, like you can't say it was a bad passing day. It was actually
yeah.
it was a good one. It was a good day for him.
I think PJ Walker played about as well as you can expect someone making their first NFL start to play. For those who don't know PJ Walker, he led the XFL before it got shut down in passing yards. He was great in the XFL. And before that, he played for Matt Rule at Temple, before Matt Rule, the head coach, came to the NFL. So there's a connection there. I like PJ Walker. I think, red zone interceptions weren't good. The first one wasn't good. The second might have, it looked to me like the receiver might have, there been a miscommunication there because he just threw it to a bunch of defenders. The
I was
receiver
gonna say
might
he
have.
threw it to like it was like a surrounded.
Yeah, I think the receiver might have cut off his route there. My guess is it was PJ Walker thought it was a corner route. Um, but yeah, I mean, I like Walker. I think he's got some zip on the ball. I think he's got a solid arm, maybe even a stronger arm than Teddy. Teddy's not the biggest arm guy.
He really
Um,
wasn't. No, Teddy Bridgewater's not the. He's not a strong armed guy.
PJ Walker's got some zip on the ball, and he has good movement ability too. He's light on his feet. I don't know where he is in terms of anticipation and reading NFL defenses. My guess is he's not there yet because he just started his first game and he's a rookie. So can he get there? I don't know. That remains to be seen. But he certainly has some intriguing traits. He's had success at lower levels, and I thought he played solidly. I thought he did a solid job.
One of the things that I would like to mention that you just brought up, he's
Yeah.
actually not a rookie.
Oh no.
No, he was on the Indianapolis Colts backing up Andrew Luck.
Oh, so he's old then.
No, he is not. He's 25.
Let me pull up my. I should
Because
have.
I remember, because the reason why he got into the XFL was it was based off of Andrew Luck got him in there.
You're right. So so 2017 was his rookie year. He was undrafted out of Temple. Good call. And he was
Yeah, I
just in
remember
the
because I remember XFL did a nice little recap on his story. He was an undrafted free agent. He was backing up Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck's dad, Oliver Luck, was starting up the XFL with Vince McMahon. Got him the
right.
job with the Roughnecks, and now he's here in Carolina.
Yeah. So no, you're right, and good call. I just because he was in the XFL, I assumed he was
No, no,
there.
yeah, no. It's a fair assumption. I just remember watching his little story about him.
No, you're
So
right. I'm looking him up, and it's he was from the Colts from 27 to 2019. So yeah. So but you're right. He's only 25. So he's a little short. I don't think he's a starter, but I think he's a good backup, especially considering his history with Matt Rule.
yeah, I
Um,
think he could be a great fit for this Panthers team if they ever need like a quick sub
right. And
for
Teddy
quarterback.
and Teddy, we'll see how long he's with the team. I think there's a good chance he comes back, considering how well he's played this year. But he's injury prone, so I think they're happy to have PJ Walker on the roster. And then Sam,
Yeah, you know what? I think Teddy Bridgewater is about to become a journeyman here, coming in the later years.
I think that's very. I mean, that's what he was coming to Carolina. That's why they brought him in.
Yeah,
But
he's the
he played really
journeyman
well.
now.
I think he exceeded expectations. We'll see if he comes again. I think this also depends on injury if he comes back or not. But DJ Moore 7 receptions, Curtis Samuel 8 receptions, Robbie Anderson 7 receptions. Kind of a nice three-headed receiving monster
Yeah,
here.
Robbie Anderson is really kind of letting up before, after getting away from the Jets.
Yeah, he has Curtis Samuel out of Ohio State, and then DJ Moore. Is he a rookie or a second? He's a second
He's
year
the
player.
second year. He was drafted in the same year that Calvin Ridley was drafted.
DJ Moore played college at Maryland. That's why I never heard of him.
Yeah, so
But
he's actually been really good these past few weeks, DJ Moore.
he was a first-round pick. He had 1,000 yards and 80 receptions in 2017 season at Maryland. And he had last year he had over 1,000 yards, and he has 700 yards this year, but almost 19 yards per reception, with a long of 74 and 4 touchdowns. So he's really come on this year, and the Panthers have been better than expected.
Yeah, they're really something solid here. They definitely have a good foundation to build off of now.
They,
Honestly, you just got to figure out some replacements, like a real replacement for Cam Newton, and then you got to find someone for Luke Kuechly.
and if Christian and depending on Christian McCaffrey's health, do you need to draft a running back? Um,
Yeah, I think actually Mike Davis. I don't know how old he is, but he could be a good back here for them.
mhm. He could. I don't know that he's the receiving back McCaffrey is.
He is not. No, he's a good like hard running back. I
Yeah,
just want
yeah.
to. I don't
No,
know.
yeah.
Okay,
He's
he's
a
been
good.
in the league since 2015. Mike Davis.
He seems like a journeyman, but
Yeah, he seems like he's becoming a journeyman, but it seems like he's finding a home here in Carolina if they want to stick with him.
it doesn't. It's a good, Matt Rule. I think it was easy to come into the season and think that Matt Rule would struggle and not be as good because he was the guy everyone wanted, coming from college and the young guy who got a big contract. It was almost like, it was easy to think like he was the type of guy that usually doesn't live up to expectations, but he has, and he's actually exceeded them. So tip your hat to them. And then the Lions side of the ball, they said on the broadcast that this is only the second shutout all year in the NFL.
Yeah, but I think this is a good one for them to have. Sadly to say, like, unfortunately, I still don't think Matt Patricia, that's his name. He's not really the guy.
No, he's not the guy. And then look, I get if they don't want to fire him mid-season because some teams don't like to do that.
Yeah.
But come the end of the season, he doesn't know how to coach offense, and his calling card defense he isn't very good at either, and his players don't like him. So that we say this every week. We don't need to say it again. But again, it was just this was pretty bad, and against the Carolina defense that has been pretty leaky for most of the season. They're not able to put up a single.
It's been a very interesting season for those Panthers, but like this is, I feel like this was a game for the Lions to really kind of see the cracks.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And they could have had three. Matt Prater missed from 51 yards. The offensive line did not look good for Detroit. They really got beat up front.
Definitely also missing DeAndre Swift for this game was kind of rough.
I was going to ask you, was Swift hurt?
Yeah, DeAndre Swift was hurt, so they did split carries with Adrian Peterson and Cary Johnson.
Yeah, and so Hawkinson got in the mix. I think the problem with and again, this moot point is going to be a different offense, but I think that DeAndre Swift needs to be their bell cow moving forward, and they moved in that direction. We talked about how early on they didn't really have a bell cow and they wanted to go by committee. But the problem with the Detroit Lions is that all three of their running backs, Adrian Peterson, Kerryon Johnson, and DeAndre Swift, they're all volume running backs. Like none of them are going to be good on rotation. They're all guys that
they definitely need to get the carries more.
Right. So if you're splitting carries between Adrian Peterson and Kerryon Johnson, it makes sense. And I think Kerryon Johnson is probably the odd man out, unfortunately, moving forward for this team, just because, like I said, he's a volume guy. He was a volume guy at Auburn, but I don't think he got hurt last year. He got hurt the last few years, so I don't know that his body is strong enough to be a volume guy. So
he's definitely a rotational back. Kerryon.
AP is not going to be around forever, so I think DeAndre Swift's their guy moving forward, and I'm glad they recognize that. AP knew, you saw a funny quote when they told him he was getting benched for DeAndre Swift. He said, "Why didn't you do that a few weeks ago?" So obviously selfless player, but also
like he understands what he is now, and like he knew that this was coming.
But he also recognized something that the coaching staff didn't, which was that you need to give volume to DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
They again, a lot of it was struggling up front here. Here's my question for you, Sam. At what point do you think about Matthew Stafford's replacement? Is it too soon to do that? And I know he can still play. That's not a statement on
He can
him, but
still play, but I mean, my real thing is like I as a Falcons fan, Matt Ryan was drafted the year before, and I think for both the Lions, like I know you're talking about Matt Stafford primarily, but I think it might be time to like think about bringing in someone new, get the next man up coming up soon because you don't know how long they're going to say. Matt Stafford, unfortunately, he does get hurt quite frequently, so they definitely might want to be considering that at some
well, he
point.
was healthy for a while up until last year.
No, he's gotten hurt a few times because there's a game one of these games he got like a broken arm. He was smashed on the shoulder. Like he does get hurt a bit, but he's able to like come back real quick.
Yeah, that's true. He usually just plays through it. He is 32, which is not young, but not super old.
It's not like a point where we're worrying, but like it might be something you want to keep on the back burner.
And also some right and some. Well, the reason I asked is because they're probably going to be picking high, right?
Yeah, probably.
So is it the time? I don't I don't know, but I think you have to keep that in the back of your mind. I don't think it can. I don't think that's a move you can do too soon. And
Do you think the Lions will be ballsy enough to pull a Packers and draft a quarterback while your gunslinger's still going?
I don't think that was that ballsy by the Packers. I think that was just dumb. But
I'm calling it ballsy to give him some credit.
right, yeah, yeah. I get it. I don't think they will, but they. It's also just Detroit has had very little success with Stafford. Like you almost feel like a mutual divorce like would be better for both of them, don't you?
It could be. He's gotten them to the playoffs, but the
He's
one
gotten
thing
to
I
the
will want to
playoffs.
note, I don't really think they've given Matt Stafford, I feel like, the keys to success. Like,
No, it's not. It's not his fault. That's why I'm saying it. Like maybe if he went to a better team, I think he could have more success.
yeah, like free him a little bit.
A little bit, yeah, yeah. No, but for both sides, for Detroit, get your just recognize that maybe it's not work. I don't know. I don't think they will draft a quarterback to answer.
No, because unfortunately, I don't know what it is about Detroit, but they like to let their superstars retire early on them because they keep screwing up somehow.
They might. I mean, they might snag someone in round 4 through 6, maybe. But I don't think they'll draft one high.
It's gonna be. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do.
I don't know what I'd go with. I guess I'd go defense, probably defense, but maybe offensive line.
What I want to see them do is move on from this coach, and then
I mean,
figure out what to do.
That's a given. That's
Like
a
they
given.
need to get rid of Patricia, unfortunately. Like so, I don't. It has to start with the coaching change before we could discuss anything else.
Right, but we're in agreement on the coaching change. That's
Yeah, we
fine.
definitely are, but we
Yeah,
might be
we're
a
not.
little different agreement on the what to do moving forward.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know what to do. That's why I'm wondering. It's just that it's another one of these organizations that is just not very good and hasn't been for a while. And we saw that in their hiring of Patricia, and they're just playing out a lost season here, like a
It
lot of
really
teams.
is. Honestly, one of the team's best hiring in the past few years, I think, was probably Jim Schwartz or Jim Caldwell. We got some discussions here.
Right, probably Caldwell, right?
Probably Caldwell. I don't. Jim Schwartz was definitely a defensive coordinator guy.
Yeah, Schwartz led to. I feel like Schwartz led to a lot of bad habits with Stafford in terms of mechanics. Like I feel like Stafford needed to be coached up a lot more early in his career than Schwartz did, right?
Yeah, maybe Stafford needed the quarterback whisperer and Adam Gase.
Oh God, Stafford and Adam Gase.
Yeah, well, that's always fun. Why don't we
Anyway,
look at one of these games that really shouldn't surprise anyone here?
you have any good teams to talk about, Sam?
We got the Pittsburgh Steelers beating the Jaguars
One
27-3.
One good team to talk about.
One good team. I want to start with the bad team real quick.
Okay.
Jake Luton, 4 interceptions on the day. Like
Yeah,
everyone was hailing him as like this big quarterback for the Jaguars, and then he does this.
I don't know who's. I mean, I don't think anyone who said that. Obviously, I said I think there's potential there.
There's
and I think
potential there. Like people were saying already, like that this might be their guy moving forward, and then he does this.
No, you can't say that about anyone after one game. And look, he's a second-year starter. He was drafted in second game starter.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is his rookie year. I don't know what they're thinking anymore with this team.
Drafted out of the 6th round, and he's playing one of the best defenses in the league. So the 4 interceptions doesn't surprise me, especially when you get down and you're kind of forcing things a little bit. The really only thing you could say here for the Jaguars is James Robinson again looked solid. they didn't have a ton. They're kind of you kind of spread the ball around, but there were only 16 completions on the day. Yeah, they're another one of these teams that's a little directionless here.
We got to figure out what they're doing, and it all starts with the coach. Doug Marone probably needs to get out of here.
Yeah.
All right, we can talk about the good team now.
Okay. All right. All
Pittsburgh
right.
Steelers.
10-0 for the first time in franchise history.
Yeah,
They're not like a bad franchise, by the way. So that's big.
that's big. And I really didn't like. They had a good team last year, I feel like, and I didn't think having Ben Roethlisberger was going to make such the big difference that it's making.
Well, here's what I say about the Steelers. They don't feel 10-0, and they don't feel 10-0 because they're doing a lot of dip and dunk on offense, and they don't really have a great running game. This was Connor before this game was doing nothing the last 3 games, and their receivers. Yes, we like Claypool, but it's not as good a receiving core as they've had in the past. But the reason I'm bullish on the Steelers, having said all that, is because this team's MO in the Mike Tomlin era has been to not win games that they need to win. I mean, we saw them lose to Tim Tebow in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And in past years, this would have been the trap game for them. They sort of had that a bit with the Cowboys this year, but I think it speaks volumes that the Pittsburgh Steelers are winning these games because winning matters. And in the past, we've seen them have a talented team and lose games that they should be winning. And this year is the opposite. Their offense isn't as talented, but they're winning games regardless. So you want to nitpick them, but it's hard to do when you're 10-0, Sam.
Well, if I may do a nitpick for you real quick, because I was reading a report about this earlier.
Yeah.
So yes, it's impressive that they're 10-0, but can we go over some of the opponents they've beaten? Because it may be a little less shocking now. So week 1 they beat the Giants.
Yeah.
Week 2 they beat the Broncos, the Texans. Then they had Carson Wentz. They had a Browns team that wasn't developed. They had 2 solid wins in Titans and Ravens, but then they went back to like a bad team. Like someone was pointing out that they really haven't played the strongest of schedules.
That's true. But I still think it's hard to go 10-0 even with an easy schedule.
Oh, no, it is. And honestly, the big test for that, for me, for what I want to see from them to really kind of sell me, if they could beat the Ravens again, and then they beat the Colts.
Yeah.
Like, that's the 2 tests right now.
Yeah.
And the Bills. I'm sorry. They have the Bills in there.
But I think even Ben Roethlisberger, I think he can play against anyone.
He can, but so the thing is though, so the Ravens have definitely been a little shaky, but that's still going to be a good solid win for them. But I want to see what he does when he plays like a top tier defense in the Colts or in the Bills.
No, me too. And I'm also excited that we get that game in primetime because primetime has been so bad, and I wanted the first Steelers Ravens game to be in primetime, so I'm excited we get a good. I mean, this is one of the best rivalries in the NFL. Some would say it's the best.
What was that? Sorry, I cut out a little bit.
Oh, I said. I mean, this is one of the best rivalries in the NFL. Some would say the best, and
debatable.
Debatable, yes, but some would say James Conner. He does better this week. I'm still. Again, if someone's going to beat them in the playoffs, it's going to be because their offense is not good enough. But they're making it work. Deontay Johnson had 12 receptions for 111 yards. Chase Claypool continues to be a touchdown maker. I think he has 10 touchdowns on the season already.
Yeah, he's 10 touchdowns for his 10 games.
I'm just going to look, which is crazy. I'm just going to look up Deontay Johnson so I know who he is. He is a 2019 third-round pick out of Toledo who is 5'10 and 183 pounds. So again, it's not. Again, they've had way more talented Steeler teams in the past, but they're playing good defense and they're finding ways to win. I tip my cap to them if I were wearing a cap, which I'm not.
Yeah, it was interesting. I see here that Mason Rudolph got 3 carries for -4 yards, but it's a very interesting stat line to have. It seemed like a solid team win. The defense really did what they were supposed to do. They beat up a Jacksonville defense. They kind of kicked the kid while they were down. But you got to do what you got to do.
And Ben Roethlisberger still, he looks better on film than he does statistically. And what's interesting to me about Ben Roethlisberger is that, I was thinking about this in this game. Do you remember when Bruce Arians was his offensive coordinator forever, and the two had a very good relationship, and I think almost too tight for the Steelers brass. And they got rid of Bruce Arians, and they bring in Todd Haley. And Todd Haley would eventually kind of adjust to Ben Roethlisberger's playing style. But the first year Todd Haley comes in, he's kind of like him and the Pittsburgh organization are kind of like, hey Ben, like you're getting older, like we want you to not hold the ball forever. We want you to get rid of the football on your first drop back. And Ben Roethlisberger was kind of like, no, I don't really want to do that. And it was contentious. Ben Roethlisberger is now he's finally doing what Todd Haley wanted him to do 10 years later.
Yeah, well, he's developing that role. Honestly, I did not think Big Ben was going to be stepping up to the challenge, especially after that arm injury he withstood. I really did not see him doing what he's doing right now.
From a physical perspective, you wondered if he could still play, but he has not missed a beat. I mean, it's been from week one, and let me remind you that even with his defense, the Steelers' offense was horrible last year.
It was easily.
They have Chase Claypool, but if you gave them Chase Claypool last year, I don't think they're much better. I mean, I think so. I think Ben Roethlisberger is what drives them, and
I don't think Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges were going to be throwing it to Claypool like Ben Roethlisberger's throwing it to Claypool.
No. So they have Super Bowl in sight, Sam, and it would be their seventh.
Seventh, yeah, they have 6.
Yeah, so congratulations to them.
Yeah, they got a good solid team here.
Yeah.
Now, we're done talking about some trash for a bit, and why don't we get to 2 good teams here that have been kind of struggling a little bit. The Tennessee Titans beat the Baltimore Ravens 30-24. I was riding the Titans on this game, and my God, did they do it.
I thought about this while watching this game. I was like, I was thinking to myself, I have no idea why Sam picked the Titans in this game, but you were right, so I give you credit for that. This was a really good game. It was back and forth. It goes to overtime. It's tied up. They need an extra quarter to finish this one, and they were kind of the first story is it's a playoff rematch.
Oh, yeah, easily. The divisional round, it's back in Baltimore.
The Titans came into Baltimore last year to one of the best Baltimore teams on offense, at least ever, and they just and a team that looked like it was going to have an easy run to the Super Bowl, and they just and that really started the legend of Mike Vrabel and Ryan Tannehill here. So there was that storyline, but these two teams I feel like they're kind of similar coming in. They both are well coached. They both are physical teams that play well on defense, and they both like to run the football. And they both started the season well, but have been struggling in their passing game in recent weeks.
Oh, definitely are following similar paths. The one difference I want to say about the Titans between the Ravens is the Titans have definitely now a number 1 receiver in A.J. Brown.
Correct. That is the one difference. I agree. And again, it was back and forth here. Starting on the Titans side of the ball, since you brought it up, Derrick Henry, it seems like he has over 100 yards every week.
Yep,
I mean,
he is a force to be reckoned with, this guy.
Again, everyone says it's a passing league. I agree it's a passing league, but there are many ways to win, and here you have a team with a foundation running back. I mean, 28 carries, 130 yards.
I was going to say, we see a lot of teams now, like they have these running backs. Like the Vegas Raiders have Josh Jacobs.
Yep.
The Browns have Nick Chubb. Vikings got Dalvin Cook, and the Tennessee Titans have Derrick Henry.
Yep, I agree. I think it's a really good point. So, there are a lot of ways to win in this league. Derrick Henry had a great day, and he actually had the game-winning, the walk-off touchdown in OT. He breaks loose, and
Gostkowski was warming up too, and he didn't even think that was going to happen.
Yeah. So Tannehill did have an interception. I still don't feel like it's not what I wanted to see. Right? It's not like they're passing games back on track, but you'll take the win. They're 7-3. AJ Brown, he kind of spread the ball around. AJ Brown with 4 receptions, Corey Davis with 5. Yeah, Sam, it's weird. It's weird they're not just like targeting AJ Brown on every play, isn't it?
It's very interesting, like especially after what AJ Brown did. Like he muscled his way through to get that lead.
I guess it's just not how they designed their offense. I guess it's more.
It's not. They definitely are built around Derrick Henry right now, and if Derrick Henry has a good day, then I feel like they could spread the ball more because then you're forcing your team to either think, oh, let's press the box or let's spread out. Right. That's how they beat them.
Totally. So, they go back and forth here, and both teams were okay through the air, but not great. I mean, the Ravens again, Lamar Jackson didn't reach 200 yards once again. It looks like they're moving towards J.K. Dobbins and away from Gus Edwards here, which makes sense. I mean, Dobbins is probably, I don't know if he's more talented, but they drafted him last year.
I was going to say, it looks like even Mark Ingram is taking a back seat.
Yeah. So, and I'm fine with that. I like J.K. Dobbins. Again, Des Bryant had 4 receptions, but only 28 yards. We talked about this. I think they need to draft a receiver next year.
They definitely do, especially when Hollywood Brown here is taking like his cousin and calling out the team.
Right. Well, yeah, he showed that he has a little AB in him as well. But the Ravens they do get into field goal range late here and tie it up.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I still think these are two good teams, but I'm still
They're having their struggles, and that's
I
what's
don't feel any better about either of their passing games
no,
after
not even
this.
close. One of the things I do want to mention that I thought was a very happy sight to see. Des Bryant had 4 catches on the day.
Yeah, he did, but I don't. I to be honest, I don't think he'll be on the team next year.
No, he will
I
not.
think
This is a one and done year for Des Bryant.
I think they just needed a body at wide receiver. But
Yeah, because they need to they need to either go out and get one or they need to draft one because those Ravens need a number one receiver.
right. But there's a reason Bryant wasn't signed after he was released by the Cowboys. Like he's
Oh no, he was on the
physically
Saints.
he's done.
Remember?
Was he?
Yeah, he was, but he tore his ACL the first day he showed up.
Oh, okay. I think he was unsigned for a bit before that though, wasn't he?
Uh, he might have been.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I still am worried about both these teams
Oh, there's definitely a
offensively.
lot of worries. The defenses are kind of lackluster at the moment, but
They're okay. They're solid. I mean, I still think the Ravens defense is pretty good.
yeah, they just gotta, it's gonna take some time. They need to click.
I mean, Derrick Henry. I mean, if the Titans can stay in the game, like if they can keep the score close, Henry will wear you down in the fourth quarter. Like no team can contain Henry for 4 quarters. It's just a question
No,
of
it's
like
Derrick
you need
Henry
to
will find a way
and
to
make
get his 100 yards.
right. You need to get out in front of them and make them throw the ball. But
Yeah,
um,
it was a solid game all around. I gotta respect the game.
Gostowski didn't miss today, which was good to see. But I wouldn't be surprised if they move on from him next year either. He
No,
is,
they're gonna need a new kicker. I think his time is done.
and I look, he's you know one of Patriots all-time leading scorer. He's won a lot of games for them, but his stroke is just not that like it's not that confident at all. Like he's very tentative striking the ball. Like he's not as aggressive moving into it as he used to be because he doesn't trust in his mechanics and he doesn't trust that the ball's going to go where he needs to. So I hope he keeps playing well because it's tough to watch kickers miss, but I think it's probably one and done for him as well.
Yeah, he's probably done here. So why don't we
Yeah.
move on to another AFC South team who actually got
Okay.
a win that I wasn't expecting. The Texans beat the Patriots 27-20.
I think this is. I'm looking at the schedule. I think this is our last bad team matchup of the day.
Um,
Where
yeah, I think that's the last bad team. No, actually, there's probably one more in there.
there's one, but where both are bad. I just think this was kind of throwback to Sean Watson, don't you think? I mean, he played really well and he did it without any running game. I mean, 10 carries for 15 yards for Duke Johnson.
He
David
did
Johnson.
most of the carrying. He spread the ball around more. Uh, it just, I honestly, it was a sloppy. It wasn't the most interesting to watch. Cam Newton on that last drive showed his faults again.
I thought the Patriots would win, and they had two chances to go down and win it. And Cam Newton, he threw for over 300 yards, and for I think the third straight game didn't throw a pick, or if he did, he hasn't had that many. He's definitely cut down on the
He's
turnovers.
cutting down on the turnovers, but honestly, it's kind of turning into, as we just mentioned with Gostkowski, he might be a one and done here with New England.
Well, they just weren't able to finish the drives at the end of this game. I didn't see it, so I can't speak to what went wrong really. But I didn't think he played poorly,
He didn't
honestly.
play poorly, but he didn't. He's definitely not super Cam anymore. He's definitely he's got to redefine what he is at this point. I think he's still trying to play like Super Cam,
Hmm.
and I think that's the biggest issue I think he's having at the moment. He's not understanding what his new. He's got to develop his new play style. I don't think he could be that super guy anymore. He's gonna
Yeah, I
have
mean,
to figure. He's gonna have to be a little more in the pocket.
yeah, but I think he's gotten better over recent weeks, and I even today 26 of 40 for 365 and one touchdowns with only three carries on the day. So I think he's doing what you're saying essentially.
He's
Uh,
getting there. He's still getting there. Like
there's
unfortunately,
still,
the no receivers is not helping though.
yeah, well, that's the thing. There's still a team. I mean, you saw Dante Moncrief make a catch in this game. When you're kind of rolling the dice on Dante Moncrief, that you're not. I mean, it was what's his name last week at receiver, uh, Jacoby
Myers.
Myers. This week it was Demir Bird, who I think played in Carolina with Cam, although I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, he
Um,
did. He actually did play in Carolina with Cam. You
But
are correct.
so I was surprised the Patriots didn't win this one. But
Yeah, you know what? He played solid, but again, I feel like the lack of having like a real good receiver for them, like on that last drive, like unfortunately, N'Keal Harry is not really developing into the receiver they needed.
he looks like a bust.
Edelman, he's out, he's hurt.
I mean, he's really not working with a lot here. And again, they had a chance to win, 27-20. They didn't play poorly. They just, Texans came in on the top. And again, I think going back to the Texans side of the ball, I think, it was good to see Deshaun Watson kind of get back into form because it's been a transition year for him with the firing of Bill O'Brien. And even before that, all the drama they had. And, they've kind of fallen by the wayside. But,
Yeah,
I think
we're honestly, it's gonna be interesting to see what Houston does during the offseason. Like, are they gonna end up blowing it up? Are they not gonna blow it up?
I think he showed you that he's still, a young quarterback.
He could be the guy, but like they definitely have issues. Like I don't know, like they have to probably keep J.J. Watt happy at some point, but he doesn't seem too
Right.
thrilled to be there anymore.
Right. Yeah. No, they have a lot of questions to answer. I think Bill O'Brien certainly left a mess for whoever the next head coach is. But if they get the right guy in, I think I don't.
It could easily turn that franchise around, but we got to
Yeah,
see what happens.
exactly. Exactly.
All right, so we could go on to this is a I don't know what you want to call the Dolphins, but we'll talk about the Dolphins game where they lost to the Broncos 20-13.
Well, congratulations to Denver for they're actually at 4 wins on the season. I thought it was only their second win of the year. That's how
No, they
bad.
have four. Drew Lock, he was 18 of 30, so I can't really say it was a great game.
Yeah.
No touchdowns, but Melvin Gordon showing why he's still a good back, I guess, for now.
Well,
He
we've
had
been
15
asking
carries.
where Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay have been, but Melvin Gordon had 15 carries for 84 yards and 2 touchdowns, 5.6 yards per carry. And Philip Lindsay had 16 carries, 82 yards, and 5.1 yards per carry. It's almost a perfect split between those two. And that it's sort of like where maybe it's an offensive line thing, but it's sort of like where has that been before?
Yeah. Well, it also, you know what? The defense really had no answer for them either, it seemed like, because they weren't playing like they were the past few weeks. That the Dolphins' defense was kind of quieted.
Yeah, it was unusual to see this Dolphins defense struggle with the run game like that. But again, I think that's the Drew Lock struggling. I think that's the formula for this team. They
They're trying to hand it off to not let
right.
Lock get hit.
Hopefully they will do that moving forward. Um, but again, congratulations to them for what feels like their second win, but is actually their fourth.
Their fourth win. It's
I could not
shocking.
tell you, I could not tell you what the 4 wins were off the top of their head.
We could do some research while you're
I,
discussing.
I don't really care, so it's fine. But if you want, you can. Uh,
They beat the
so
Jets, Patriots, and Chargers.
Jets, Patriots, Chargers. Okay, so the Chargers, a team that leads away into AFC East trash teams. The bigger story was in Miami. Tua struggled. He wasn't able to get the ball down the field in this one. He didn't throw a pick, but he was 11 for 20 for just 83 yards. Ahmed didn't do a ton on the ground. The bigger story here, Sam, is that Brian Flores benches Tua in this game, and when it happened, I thought it was due to injury because on the play before he gets his leg crunched underneath
Yeah,
him.
they said it was an injury that got him benched. I guess it
But
really
no, that was
wasn't.
the surprising part. The head coach Brian Flores comes out and said it was an injury. I think this was a terrible decision to bench Tua by
Yeah,
Brian
I
Flores.
thought it was just injury, but if he really just pulled him, like, why would you yank your young quarterback after that? Like, he needs to figure out how to get out of the struggle.
If they were losing like 44-10 and Tua was getting beat up and he threw 5 interceptions, then I get it. But it's a 20-10 game at that point. Would they have won with Tua? Probably not. I think if he was thinking anything, it's that A, maybe Fitz gives us a spark, and B, we're in the playoff hunt, so maybe we try to win this one. But you have a young quarterback, and they made this move. When they made this move, they did so despite the fact that they were winning and that Ryan Fitzpatrick was playing well. So they made the move to Tua, full well knowing that they could have rolled with Fitzpatrick and it would have been fine. But they did so because they felt like it was ready, but they also felt like it was time to get their young quarterback on the field. So to bench Tua in this game, he was struggling, but I'm a firm believer, Sam, that when a young quarterback's struggling, he's got to play through it.
No,
Any
I'm with you on that one. Like, he
any
needed to
rookie,
figure it out. He needed to
any
get
rookie
through it.
any rookie in the NFL is going to struggle at some point or another, no matter how good you were in college. You have to figure it out. So I just he'll be starting next week, but I think this was a big blunder by Flores. I think it was a really questionable decision. And look, if Ryan Fitzpatrick had come in and tied this game up, he would have had a quarterback controversy on his hands. So I think he's almost lucky that that didn't happen.
Yeah, I think it was a good. It was lucky that Fitzpatrick didn't get the win. It
Yeah.
was still. It's a very very weird call. I thought even ESPN was like, Tua leaves game after apparent leg injury.
Right. It
But
looked like
now that I didn't see the post game interview, so I didn't realize it wasn't injury.
I didn't realize until later. I saw his leg rolled up and I said, yeah, he has to have been gimpy here. But no, it was. I think it was in the moment decision, and he made the wrong decision.
Yeah, you know what? There's not much to say. It was a game they should have won, but didn't. The Denver decided to show up for this one.
They're a young team with a young quarterback. It's going to happen.
Yeah, they're gonna have their struggles.
Yeah.
All right, so I think this is gonna be our last game with the bad teams. We have the Chargers and the Jets. Now the Jets going 0-10 are officially eliminated from playoff contention.
Oh, really? That's crazy. I thought they would have made it in. Yeah, the Jets and the Chargers go out to a big jump out to a big lead here, and
Almost
but
choke it away.
no lead is safe with the LA Chargers
Or the Atlanta Falcons.
of 2020. That too. Um, so I can't say enough good things about Justin Herbert. 37 of 49 for 366 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. This is a rookie, guys. I mean, if you didn't know who Herbert was and you didn't know he was a rookie and you watched him play or you looked at his stat line, you would have said that's a veteran. That's a 10-year NFL veteran. He's a guy I was thinking about him. He's a guy who like 10 years ago would have been your prototypical number one overall draft pick, 6'4", or even taller. I think he's like 6'5" or 6'6". Huge arm, all the attributes you want. But he wasn't because the NFL is tilted more towards kind of mobile, dynamic college athletes. And at the end of the day, he wasn't that good at Oregon. And Tua and Burrow were better prospects. So I'm not surprised that he was. I don't think it was wrong that he was picked where he was. But I am shocked at how well he's been playing, and I am really impressed at just like what he's done this year. I mean, he is throwing the football down the field. He is checking all the boxes. He is throwing well against the blitz. He is accurate. He is aggressive. I mean, the aggressiveness is really in today's league where it's so much dip and dunk. Like he's throwing it down the field. I feel like he's like Josh Allen, but like really mechanically sound. Like they're both really tall. They both can run. They both have strong arms. But Allen is just like a kind of a wild stallion. He gets these crazy arm angles. He does these crazy stuff. Herbert is like textbook when it comes to mechanics, when it comes to release point. His release point, like if you want to teach a young kid how to play quarterback, like put on Justin Herbert, like just mechanically, because that's how good he's been. I've been so impressed with him, Sam, and I think he's the rookie of the year. I think he's been better than Burrow this year, and I love Joe Burrow.
I definitely agree with you that he's been better than Burrow. I do like that comparison you had with Josh Allen. Josh Allen's definitely a little wacky with his shit.
He's like it's Josh a good comparison. Allen, like was not wacky.
Yeah, like that's a good comparison. Justin Herbert, I'm really liking what I'm seeing. He's got a great receiver in Keenan Allen too. Like he was able to hit him so much, 16 receptions for 145 yards. He's got Mike Williams too, so like he's got a good duo at receiver. Like he's got a good team around him. It's just the choking they got to figure out.
And he turns it loose when it's one-on-one coverage. I mean that almost that is an NFL attribute. Your guy's one-on-one, you throw it to him. It doesn't matter if he's covered, and if you get picked off, it's not your fault. It's the receiver's fault, because when your guy is one-on-one, then that's where you go with the football. That's the NFL mindset, and Herbert seems to understand that fundamentally, and that's not really something you can teach. That's something either a guy has. Alex.
You have or you don't.
Yeah, that's something you have or you don't coming into the league. And that's going to make the receivers look better. But yes, he has two top wide receivers here. Again, they're struggling on defense. It goes back to the coaching thing. Like it goes back to what we were talking about with Joe Burrow. Like I don't think you can fire the head coach with Justin Herbert playing so well, can you?
And honestly, I kind of do like Anthony Lynn as a coach.
I like him too. I just don't like that they choke away these 3-score leads every game.
Yeah, I know. How do you think I feel being a Falcons fan?
Yeah, exactly.
They have a great team. It's just they should not be losing these leads.
Right, and against the Jets too. They seem to like Kalen Ballage as their lead back here, who they just traded for, or they just picked up a couple weeks ago. They gave him 16 carries on the day. He only had 2.8 yards per carry. But it's weird. He was terrible in Miami last year, but he's still a young kid. He has talent. They seem to like him. Josh Kelly, who was really good at UCLA, they haven't, he showed some sparks early, but Maybe he got in the doghouse after that fumble in the Tampa game. Who knows? But I wonder if they move forward with Balaj next year, if they end up drafting someone.
So actually, Cary, I did when you brought up Kalen Balaj, I didn't realize he was there, so I did a little research on him, and it's the Adam Gase effect going on here. He was on the Jets to begin the season.
But he also last year
he was doing pretty bad with the Dolphins too. I did look into that,
Dolphins, and he was outrushed by Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I was more going towards the joke of now that
the Jets. Absolutely. But I just find it interesting that they've kind of chosen him as their bell cow here.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I feel like he seems a little more of a relaxed runner with these guys than I feel like with Miami. I did look up. I watched what he was doing, and it definitely seems like he's definitely a better runner here in Los Angeles than he was with Miami.
Mm-hmm. Well, he didn't.
It's just it's cool to see that he's trying to make a resurgence here.
Of course. Now he didn't have a good day today, or so, but it looks like they want to give him carries. So maybe it's somewhat of a trial period for him, and if he finishes the season strong, maybe they move forward.
They might keep him around. Like honestly, they're still probably they have to figure out who their Melvin Gordon replacement is here.
Right. I mean, we're not talking about it because they're so good passing, but they don't really have
they got to get a rushing game to help complement that passing.
On the side of the Jets, they start out terribly, and Frank Gore is still fighting here.
I'm really sad that Frank Gore is on this Jets team. I really want to see him on a better team.
Yeah, I mean they get Mims and Perryman in the mix here. They mount a mini rally here, and Joe Flacco does what he does best, which is like toss it up to guys who are one-on-one and make them kind of do the work for inaccurate balls, and that's sort of what we saw with him with Denzel Mims. I'd love to see Sam Darnold come back before the season ends, just so we can get somewhat of a read on him.
Yeah, well, Darnold was hurt again before coming into the game, so you really do not know what's going to happen.
Right, we don't know. I mean, I don't think Darnold has played with Mims, Perriman, and Crowder yet this year.
He has not. No, he's always played with injury. He's always played with like the backups.
Yeah, so it's hard to evaluate him at this point.
Yeah, we can get a good read on Joe Flacco, though. We can tell you that much.
Yeah, he's it's Joe Flacco and Adam Gase. There's not a lot of good things to say there.
No, but I have a question for you now.
Yes, yeah.
Who is going to retire first, Frank Gore or Adrian Peterson?
I'd have to look up their ages here.
I believe Frank Gore came in the league in 2005?
Frank Gore is 37, and you're right. He was a third-round pick out of Miami in 2005.
Peterson, I believe, was 2006?
Adrian Peterson is also 35. It's funny because we're talking about 35-year-olds like they're ancient. Like they just seem so old for running backs. Who's going to retire first, Frank or Adrian Peterson? I have no. I feel like that's a coin flip, honestly.
It really can be. One of the other things I just noticed too, Frank Gore has almost been on every AFC East team here.
He was on.
He was in Miami in 2018. He was on Buffalo in 2019. Now he's on the Jets in 2020.
Well, was he with Adam Gase in Miami?
No, he was there 2018. Adam Gase wasn't there anymore.
Oh. No, I'm looking up. Adam Gase was there in 2018. So
maybe it was Adam. He was there with Adam Gase.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea. I feel like they're both, I'm shocked they're both not already retired. That's how I feel.
Frank Gore and Adrian Peterson both need to get Super Bowls.
Yeah, well, that's tough at this point.
It is. Hold on.
We both got calls at the same time.
I will talk to him in a minute. All right, so why don't we move on to probably, I think, the game of the day over there. We had the Indianapolis Colts and the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, this was a great matchup. And coming in, this was a really important matchup, really important test for both teams. On the side of the Colts, the question was, could they win a game against an elite quarterback? And on the side of the Packers, the question was, could they go on the road against a top-level defense in the NFC and come out with a win? Because that's something they haven't done recently or much of it all in the Aaron Rodgers era. And it lived up to the hype. I mean, both teams are 7-3 now. The Colts do squeeze out with the overtime win here.
Now I guess it's your turn for a phone call.
Yeah, it's my birthday, so my parents keep trying to call me.
Yeah, so we'll make our phone calls later. But yeah, you know what? You're right. It was a tough game around for both of them. And I want to say Rodrigo Blankenship is the MVP of this one here.
I think he was 3 for 4, or was he 4 for 5 on the day?
He was 3 for 4. He missed one.
Yeah,
4 for 5. I'm sorry. You were right.
He had one off the crossbar. He's been great for them. So the Colts go out, or no, who went out to the lead? It was the Colts, I think. Yeah, the Colts go out to a 28-14 lead in this one,
Yep.
which was
Yeah. So I'm looking at the box score here. It was 28-14. No, it was Green Bay who had 28. I'm sorry.
I keep thinking it was the Colts. Yeah, it was Green Bay. Yeah, so that seems weird because it's weird. It's like you wouldn't expect the Colts to come back from that, but they have. They did. You know, Philip Rivers played really well, and it's even when he's having bad years, he always like has a game where he lights up a good team because he's a 10, 15 year NFL vet. He can do that. And I feel like no again, I feel like everyone wants to dump on Rivers when he plays poorly, but no one wants to
No one ever wants to praise you for doing good. They're always going to dump you for doing bad.
right. And we
And he
know
had a great game.
we know he did, and we know that like he's on a great Colts team, but for years he was solid but not great on a terrible Chargers team, and now he's solid but not great on a great Colts team. So it's not like he's changed by any means. But you give him credit because he's a big part of their puzzle, right? They knew they were too good to just tank, right? They knew they were good enough to compete, but they needed someone to kind of carry the reins, a veteran, and Rivers has done that. He goes. I mean, you see the intelligence when you watch him play. He goes through his progressions. He throws with tremendous anticipation. He gets rid of the ball quickly. And he's a really good match with Frank Reich at offensive coordinator. And also that's one thing I forgot to mention about the Eagles, but you wonder with Carson Wentz how much over the years losing Frank Reich and John DeFilippo has affected his play. Just random Eagles thought there. But yeah, Colts were great. And then just when you think Naheem Hines is going to be their guy, they're back on the Jonathan Taylor train here. He has 22 carries for 90 yards and 4.1 yards per carry. So the NFL continues to be unpredictable in that sense. Um, Rivers spread the ball around in this one. The Packers, it seems like if this was Mike McCarthy coaching this game, Sam, then everyone would have said, oh, it's another Mike McCarthy, can't close, choke at the end. But it's not, and it's kind of the same result here. They blow a big lead. They actually, late in this game was a whirlwind because the Colts go up 31-28, and then the Packers. I think the Packers lost a fumble, and the Colts went up 31-28, and then the Packers could have kicked a 50-plus yard field goal. They instead go for it on fourth down. They don't get it, and then the Colts have the ball. They go for it on fourth down, and they can run out the clock, but they get about like 20 holding penalties in a row. So they ultimately have to punt it. It was really sloppy ending, and Aaron Rodgers gets it back in his own end zone with not a lot of time left, and he throws up a hope and a prayer to MVS. I'll call him Marquez
Yeah, that's
Valdez.
fine.
And after that, he's just in rhythm. He a couple more over the middle. He did make me nervous at the end when he dumped it off in the red zone. They used a timeout, and then the clock's running down, and he doesn't have any timeouts. I thought he might do something dumb in the red zone, but he throws it away. They're not able to score, but they kick the field goal. And then it's overtime. They get the ball first, and MVS fumbles, and the Colts get it in the field goal range. So you're really kicking yourself in this one if you're the Packers because you kind of feel like you gave this game away, not only just with the 28-14 lead, but just at the end with the fumbles and the mistakes.
I was gonna say that big Valdez Scantling fumble that he had in overtime was really rough.
That was big, and they had a fumble earlier in the fourth quarter to give the Colts a short field and let them take the lead. So.
Yeah, so it became rough for the Packers at the end of the game there.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to mention is how fucked up people can be on the internet, by the way.
True, but what happened?
Marquez Valdez Scantling, after the game, people on Twitter started sending him death threats.
Yeah, that's just sick. I mean, let me just say this. If you're the type of person that sends an athlete death threats because your team didn't go the way you wanted to, like you need to reevaluate your life.
I'm really confused because even during the NBA Finals, Danny Green of the LA Lakers, he made a bad shot, but that's fine. Like you expect that to happen to players, like they'll make bad shots.
Yeah.
But they sent letters to his fiance for death threats.
No, it's sickening, and people think they can be tough because they hide behind a screen.
I want to see someone actually fight Marquez Valdez Scantling.
No one would say that to his face, but they think because you don't know who they are, you can do that. And it's this also mindset, Sam, of like, my team owes me a win, where at the end of the day, like these are professional athletes, they don't owe you anything. Like if anything, like you should be grateful that they're giving up their bodies to give you
I
a
was gonna say
product.
they're risking their health for giving me like a
Right.
nice little distraction from the world. So they
Yeah.
if they lose a tough game, they lose a tough game. Like they at least it was something good.
It's just such an entitlement mindset. So I'm with you. I didn't know that happened, but
Yeah, that's just gross.
I hate that that happens so often because
Yeah, I was watching the Pat McAfee show. Aaron Rodgers came on and they were talking about that.
it's screwed up, and especially after MVS kind of put you in position on that last drive with his crazy catch anyway.
It is.
So, but yeah, the Pack. I mean, really impressive and kind of a statement win for the Colts here. I don't. They seem to not be on people's radar, but I guess because they're the Colts, whatever. But they could win their division at the end of the day.
They could with the Titans kind of faltering a little bit. This is easily kind of what they can do.
I think they're the most complete team in the AFC South right now.
Yeah, you know what they I think they are too. I'm with you on that one.
And again, yeah, again, the Packers kind of faltering late season here. They can't, this is like sort of vintage choking Packers here. I mean, this is not gonna, this kind of, again, and look, give them props for putting up the kind of yards and points they did against a really tough Colts defense, but you can't be shooting yourself in the foot, and you can't be losing these games. And it's hard. It's not like you point to one part of their roster that sucks, right? It's like Aaron Rodgers is having a really good year. I mean, he had a bad pick early, but he bounced back from it. The receivers were an issue early on in the season, but at the end of the day, like you can play with them, and you don't need great receivers. The fact is, the matter is, and no one wants to say this, you don't need great receivers if you have a great quarterback. And at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers has not been a great quarterback in recent years, and he's been a great quarterback this year. So all of a sudden, the receivers aren't an issue anymore. So it's not like there's one part of their team where they're like, oh, they suck. It's just like they gotta do better at winning games they're supposed to win and closing out games, and it just anytime you have Aaron Rodgers on your team playing at the level he's playing at, you expect to win a Super Bowl, and they're not. With this kind of play that they've shown in recent weeks, it's not going to get it done.
No, they're really. It's sad. Like they're supposed to be a Super Bowl ready team, and it doesn't really show.
No, and it had for years.
Oh, easily. They've both like the 2016 NFC Championship. They got blown out. Last year they got blown out. They didn't even make the playoffs between the 2 years.
I just think it's interesting, and this is not on Rodgers, but I mean there are critiques with Rodgers, sure, but like Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl in his third season as a starter, and that was 10 years ago, and he hasn't been back to a Super Bowl or won a Super Bowl since, and he hasn't really played well in the championship game since then. And again, I'm not saying this to knock Aaron Rodgers, but I just think it's interesting how a narrative or how whatever you do early in your career kind of defines your narrative. Because Peyton Manning didn't win a Super Bowl till his sixth season, so by that the narrative was that Peyton was a choker. But what if instead of winning that Super Bowl in his third season, Rodgers didn't win it, say, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago? Would the narrative be that Rodgers is a choker? Probably, but because it happened so early, the narrative's written, people don't think about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, a really great game, really impressive win for the Colts, and a tough loss for the Packers.
It was. Now, speaking of Mike McCarthy, how about them Cowboys?
Right.
They got another win. They beat the Vikings 31-28.
Yeah, I thought we were done with bad teams, but I guess we're back to them here. I forgot about Cowboys Vikings.
Yeah, I was gonna say you forget about this one because geez, no one cared. But it's the Cowboys, so they were on everyone's TV at that point. And Andy Dalton comes back, and look what they do.
Yeah, Andy Dalton threw for 3 touchdowns. Didn't have an amazing day, just 203 yards and a pick. But he certainly looked better than he did early in the season, where it looked like he was just a little rusty. He hadn't played football in a while, and no matter how much of a veteran you are or any of that, it takes a while to get back to game speed. Big story for the Cowboys here is Ezekiel Elliott back healthy and doing what Ezekiel Elliott does, which is 21 carries for 103 yards. And then Tony Pollard had another 60 yards on 5 carries. So that's what they need to do to have a chance to win games, and certainly have. And I thought Mike McCarthy, as much as he's criticized for his offensive play calling, I thought he did get a little creative in this with some of the play calling in this one. And I was glad to see that. I guess coming off the bye, maybe he kind of went back to the cupboard, and they have to do that with a backup quarterback and with a limited passing game here. But yeah, both teams played solidly. The Vikings got lost, but I don't think they played poorly. I mean, Cousins had a good day, 22 of 30 for 300.
He really Cousins really kept the mistakes to like.
He had a good day. Dalvin Cook continues to be a monster, 27 carries for 115 yards. Adam Thielen was balling today. It was the Adam Thielen show, 8 receptions, under 23 yards, 2 touchdowns. Everything, was the formula for how the Vikings want to play football. They just came out on the losing side to this. So of this one. So tip your hat to the Cowboys.
Yeah, you know, I was shocked that the Cowboys got this win. They did what they needed to do. CeeDee Lamb had probably one of the most amazing catches in that end zone.
Yeah, it was a corner route from the slot, and Andy Dalton. It wasn't an accurate throw. He threw it like upfield and on the wrong shoulder, and CeeDee Lamb just kind of contorted and made a ridiculous adjustment on the
So that
ball.
definitely helps when you have a receiver that can do that for you.
Oh yeah, and that's what we saw from CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma. His ability to kind of attack the ball at the point of the catch, similar almost to DeAndre Hopkins is and to kind of contort his body
I was gonna say Hopkins does that all the time.
right. It's pretty special, and he came up for. And that's what you have to do when you have a backup quarterback in the game. You got to make plays for him.
You got to do, like, honestly, Brandon Lloyd, when he was the receiver for Tim Tebow, I think that was a great combo because he would go out and do what needed to be done for him.
Yeah, Brandon Lloyd was such an interesting receiver because he would make just ridiculous catches, but he never kind of would stick to any one team. But yeah, no, that's a throwback. But you're right. I mean, Brandon Lloyd was the king of the acrobatic catch.
Yeah, so honestly, it was nice to see Andy Dalton got a good win with another team now.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to see him off the COVID list.
A nice NFC East battle here between all the 3-win teams, huh?
Yeah, it's honestly, if Philly didn't get that tie with the Bengals, it would be a fucking tie right now.
It's so sad. It's so sad.
All right. We can move on to the Sunday night football game.
Yeah.
Raiders and Chiefs. That was actually a really interesting game there.
It was very interesting because the Chiefs moved to 9-1 in the year. This was like what happens when good. This used to be every Sunday night game before teams started, being bad and the NFL started with weird scheduling. Every Sunday night game used to be a game between two really good teams, and it was a game, and you'd have long drives, and the ball wouldn't touch the ground, and you had to work for it, but it was just good execution. That was what it was on both sides. The Chiefs come out with the win, 35-31, and move to 9-1, but I don't think anyone expected the Raiders, Sam, to put as much of a fight into it as they did. I mean, I think we were all thinking that, okay, the Raiders, they got lucky in that, Henry Ruggs had a bunch of big plays. That's not going to happen again. The Chiefs are going to blow them out. The Chiefs won, but they needed.
It was closer than they thought. Honestly, I think John Gruden has figured something out that no one else has been able to figure out.
Yeah, John Gruden all of a sudden looks like he kind of is giving the Chiefs some trouble here. He's taking this rivalry to heart, and now it's not an anomaly anymore. Now it's like, okay, John Gruden and this Raiders team are for real, and these teams could meet again in the playoffs. You never know. I mean, this is now 2 games that the Chiefs defense has struggled to defend this Raiders offense. Carr I thought played really well. Carr does, Carr's for all his criticism, he's a pretty consistent player. He's who he is. He's not gonna it's not Mahomes. He's not gonna throw 80-yard bombs. He's not gonna.
No, he does what he's supposed to do. Like,
well, he kind of manages the offense well. He looks like he's comfortable in this John Gruden-led offense. He was 23 of 31. 275, 3 touchdowns in the pick, including a go-ahead touchdown late, which was a nice play. The Raiders didn't do a great job. They would have liked to run the ball more than they did. Henry Ruggs kind of, and outside of that, other Chiefs game is kind of nowhere to be seen. And that was the question mark I had. I was like, okay, you want to have a controlled passing game with a quarterback who doesn't like to throw the ball down the field. Why are you drafting the speedster? Why not get Jerry Jeudy? So that's a bit of a question mark. And I saw his PFF ranking, which they showed on NBC. Was very low. It was Darren Waller and Nelson Aguilar on this one. I mean, Waller has been fantastic.
I was going to say, they both had 88 yards, just Darren Waller had one more catch.
He's been a mismatch at the tight end position, and his tight end, he's a tight end, right?
He's a tight end, yeah.
Yeah, his speed surprises people. I mean, he's very fast for a tight end, and they played keep away. Both teams went on long drive. Neither team had the explosive plays, right?
No, there's really nothing too crazy going on. Like, They played very fundamental football.
100%. And at the end of the game, the Chiefs, Liam McCune said at the end of the game, how much time is too much time for Patrick Mahomes? The answer is any time. And Mahomes had the ball left with, I believe, under a minute. And it just looked easy, Sam. And I couldn't tell if it was bad defense or if it was just Mahomes making it look easy.
It was honestly probably Mahomes because the Raiders defense is no joke, honestly.
Yeah, Kelsey came up big.
Kelsey threw a pass.
Kelsey came up big. Tyreek Hill and Kelsey both had over 100 yards, and Kelsey comes up with the game-winning touchdown. And Mahomes he's just special, man. He really is.
Imagine if he went to go play baseball.
I mean, like even when Mahomes doesn't play well, he still plays well. And I'm not saying he didn't play well in this game, but it's like, okay, you can hold him back, you can, take away the big plays, and he's still going to win the game for you. It's like you're just never out of a game with Patrick Mahomes. So
You're really not. And, like, he has a good running back duo in the backfield now with, he had Edwards-Helaire to start the season, which was really good, and then he brings in Le'Veon Bell.
yeah, although not amazing in the running game today. I think the Raiders defense.
No, it was definitely a little lighter, but you know what? They still it was 2 touchdowns for Edwards-Helaire, and then there was 1 touchdown for Bell.
No, you're right. They're totally right. The only note I have here on the Chiefs is I'd love to see more Mecole Hardman and Sammy Watkins, but especially Mecole Hardman. They seem to put Robinson in the number 3 spot, and they have a ton of speed on this offense. All these guys can run.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sammy Watkins was actually hurt for this game, so he wasn't even in.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm a little surprised that Robinson has kind of outleaped Hardman on the targets. Here, because I feel like Hardman's a more talented receiver, but obviously it's first and foremost about Hill and Kelsey, and it was in this game. And
yeah, I was gonna say, those are the number 1 and 2. I'm noticing here that Byron Pringle got more receptions than Hardman.
Yeah, Pringle did. Chiefs are 9-1, and they're thinking back-to-back Super Bowls. Obviously, no reason that they shouldn't be. And another note, Andy Reid, again, I feel like he had a bye week, and I feel like for these big primetime games, he just goes to the lab. Like most teams don't add new plays mid-season, but Andy Reid just comes out to big games with like a bunch of scripted plays that are like.
I was gonna say Andy Reid after a bye week is probably the most dangerous thing in the world.
He's so creative. I mean, remember a couple weeks ago I was gushing about how they did Mahomes went in motion and then went right and then went left and caught the snap and then rolled back around and threw a touchdown. So they did the Mahomes motion again, but they did a different play off of it. So Mahomes starts to go right, goes back left, but instead of snapping it to Mahomes, they snap it to the running back and the Wildcat, and he starts rolling right, and then he throws it underhand to I think it was a tight end or receiver underneath. It's just like, how much misdirection can you have in one play? That was like 4 or 5.
There's never too much misdirection for Andy Reid.
You just can't. If you're a defender, what are you going to do? You just can't defend it. And so he continues. I mean, it's such a lethal combination when you have a generational talent at quarterback and a creative head coach. It always seems like when you have one or the other, right? Like you have a great quarterback, but like not a great head coach. But I think the fact that they have this marriage between like Patrick Mahomes could be good enough in any offense. Like he could play in the Mike McCarthy offense, but you put him in an Andy Reid offense, it's almost unfair. And that's why everyone's looking at this team and thinking dynasty. They're going to command the NFL for the next decade. And I don't think anyone would be surprised if they did, Sam.
I don't think anyone would be either. Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, that's way too dangerous. Like, we thought Andy Reid with Alex Smith was, dangerous. This is really dangerous.
Oh, it's just unfair. It's unfair for defenses. And the Chiefs are at 9-1, and they're hoping, I guess, at this point that Pittsburgh slips up and that they can get the bye here.
Honestly, I don't know if the Chiefs played Pittsburgh, but I think the Chiefs could beat Pittsburgh.
They do. I think they do, actually. Hold on, let me check.
No, they lost to the Raiders.
2020 Kansas City Chiefs schedule. The Chiefs play. No, they do not play Pittsburgh. You're right. They
got Tampa coming up, Broncos, Dolphins, Saints, and then 2 easy wins.
Yeah. So, and this is the part about the playoff system I don't like. Like, it's hard. I think the Steelers will probably finish with a better record than Chiefs just because of their schedule and the fact. But it's like it's hard to justify like a team as good as the Chiefs. Like, say they have 2 losses on the season or even 3. Like, doesn't it seem like they should have a bye? I don't know. That's just me.
It should be, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see what the playoff schedule looks like for them. We'll see what they do.
Yeah.
All right, Monday Night Football, the last game of the slate here. The Rams beat the Buccaneers 27-24. I was not expecting that.
Oh man. I guess let's start with the Rams here. So they pull out the win here. They kind of tried to lose this game with a Jared Goff interception late, and
that was a very interesting one. But Cooper Kupp, though, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off here, but Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods had some really good games here.
Yeah, they both had over 10 receptions and over 120 yards on the day. Cooper Kupp is so dangerous after the catch. Like, he makes these quick cuts, and then he just explodes.
Yeah, he's way too dangerous, that guy.
And I'm surprised we don't see that from him every week. And I think it's just because the Rams' offense and the passing game is a little inconsistent. They threw it 51 times in this game, which was surprising. Jared Goff was what he's been. He's been up and down. He completed 39 for 376 yards and 3 touchdowns, but also had two interceptions on the day. And like I said, that one interception late kind of.
It kind of felt like the Rams wanted to lose after that.
If Brady comes through, then that's game over, and we're talking about that a lot more. They didn't run the ball great in this game. They were kind of, I think, just they went in with a plan to focus on the short passing game. They played. I thought their defense was really good. I think they look really good on defense. I think their offense was a step forward, but I still at this point it kind of feels like it is what it is. Like under Jared Goff, it's going to be a bit kind of inconsistent. You know, they haven't hit their stride not only from the Super Bowl year, but from that year before where they were so smooth with the play action. They just don't look. They just haven't looked the same since.
They really don't, and they're not recovering well.
Yeah,
it's gonna be.
They're 7-3. They feel like just like a high floor, low ceiling. Like they feel like one of these middling teams that like doesn't it just seem like they're gonna make the playoffs and like have a wild card loss? Like doesn't that feel like
they're gonna be a 7 seed? I feel like.
Yeah, and then they either have a wild card loss or like have a 3-point wild card win and then like don't do anything the following week. And worst case scenario they like are 9-7. But I think they'll go to the playoffs and just but not be good enough to win. I just don't think their passing game's good enough. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if I think it's partially the quarterback. I don't think he's terrible, but they're just average,
Well, again, like after it takes some time, like the defenses learn how to beat these players, and I think Jared Goff was just too easy to figure out.
Yeah, I agree. But they're kind of stuck with him now with what they're paying him.
Yeah, so you know what? They're gonna have to figure out new ways to figure it out.
And I do think they need to run the ball better here. Again, Cam Akers hasn't been great this year, but
no, you know what? They've got a lot of question marks here.
Yeah, they do. But they played well on defense, and let's talk about Tampa here. So here's my question, Sam. We all know what Tampa did to Green Bay, and that was, I think, the really point where we started talking about the Super Bowl. Now, take that game out of the equation. Pretend that game didn't happen. You never.
I try to always pretend games with the Buccaneers never happen.
You didn't see it. You didn't know it existed, and all you have to evaluate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is every other game that they've played this year, outside of that Packers game. Do you look at this team and think they're a Super Bowl team?
Honestly, even without with the Packers game, I really didn't think they were to begin with.
Yeah.
They get swept by the Saints, which really doesn't help, and they lost to a Bears team that they really should have easily beaten, and that gave me the big question marks. Like even after beating the Packers, like that was more of Tom just being angry at that point. I really didn't. They really should not have lost that Bears game.
And what I really thought about the Tampa game was that it was like their defense is legit, and I don't think their defense is bad, but it seemed like it was Todd Bowles. It seemed unique to Aaron Rodgers. It seemed like they put together a unique game plan.
Yeah, they like handpicked it for
right. It seemed game plan
for him.
But if you take away out that dominant win, you have they their most dominant wins were a comeback against the Chargers who were the chokers. They have a dominant game against the Raiders when half of the Raiders were out with COVID, and they have a good second half against a bad Panthers defense. That's about it in terms of impressive wins.
I was going to say, even the game against the Giants, when they kind of determined that they were not really going to be good this year, like how close that was, that does not sell me on this team.
No, and they are the passing game for the Bucs is streaky and not in a good way. Like they'll have and we saw it against the Chargers, against the Packers, against in the games where they've been good. They've hit a roll in the passing game, not for the whole game, but for like a couple quarters where Tom Brady gets in rhythm. But then they go through these long stretches. You saw it against LA and you saw it against the Bears, where they can't complete any passes and they can't move the ball at all. And that's pretty, it's not, and at this point in the season, it's not like, week one it was like, okay, it's first week for Brady, they're figuring it out. But it's not, we're at the point in the season where that shouldn't be happening. And I thought it didn't look good. I mean, Tom Brady, 26 of 48 for 216, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They just this late in the game they couldn't do it. I mean, Tom Brady's both interceptions were terrible. I mean, they both were on deep throws, and one was woefully underthrown to the safety. It was a duck, and the other one was just a bad read. He threw it right to the safety over the top. They were two bad interceptions, and only 216 yards on 48 attempts is not good. I'm going to do the math right now, and I will tell you how many yards per attempt that is. That's 4.5 yards per attempt, Sam. That's not going to get it done. I'm at the point where I think it's time to hit the panic button for Tom Brady in this passing game.
It's very interesting. He's very even with all the receivers, like he should not be playing the
No,
way he
they're
is.
loaded at wide receiver. I think they need to run the ball more, but I don't. They struggle to. And their running game is up and down. Like Ronald Jones, like last week was incredible, and then this week he's
He
only.
stuttered. Like honestly, this Buccaneers team seems to be like on and off as well. Like I feel like they have games they're on and games they're off, or even like halves. Like
Yeah,
I feel like there's a lot of similarities between these two teams right now, the Rams and the Buccaneers. Like you said
yeah.
with the Rams, they could be on and off, and I feel like like Tom Brady seems to be on and off this year too.
He again, it's like I said, it's streaky, but I don't think this wasn't good. I don't think this is not the Tom Brady that we're used to seeing that they thought they were getting. And it's hard. It seems like I wondered coming into the season what the fit would be for Tom Brady and a Bruce Arians offense because it's not the type of offense he's run in the past with all the downfield passing. And everyone was like, "Oh, that's silly. Like he can still throw it down the field." And Arians has adjusted. Well, he's adjusted a little bit, but he hasn't adjusted that much. And I think you reach a point where you say, "Okay, like we have to stop asking Tom Brady to take deep drops and throw it down the field because that's not who he's been for most of his career, and that's not who he is right. Certainly at age 3, and it's not an arm strength thing. It's just
It's
you
just
need
not
to
the way he
find
plays the game.
right. You need to find what he's good at. And when I watch the Patriots with Tom Brady, I always outside of last year, which I also felt like there was no identity on that offense, but like most other years, I usually felt like they had staples they go to with Josh McDaniels, like, and they had a rhythm and there was a rhyme and reason for the play calling. I just don't know what the identity is of this Tampa passing game. I don't feel any rhythm with Tom Brady. I mean, it seems like and again, it's you're seeing. I think you're seeing what Tom Brady looks like without the in-game adjustments of Bill Belichick, and you don't want to shit on Bruce Arians because he's a great coach, but like it's just because no one's at the level of Belichick, and I think people for so many years took for granted like just the little things that the Patriots staff does in game to make adjustments, both on defense, special teams, and the passing game, that the coaching advantage was just so momentous. And sure, the Patriots suck this year, but they have a terrible roster, so it's a little different. But I finished this game and I said Tom Brady doesn't look good, and I think it's panic time for Tampa.
We'll see what they decide to do. They might hit it, they might not. I don't know.
They're not a Super Bowl team right now. They're
They're
not a
really
Super
not.
and that's what they want to be. So and they have receivers here. It's not looking good. It's really not. I mean, this was a very winnable game for them, and I had it on for a while, and there were just stretches where Tom just he couldn't complete a pass.
It was rough. So, Cary,
They got
before we go into our game picks here, I want to
yeah,
mention one thing.
yes, sir.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame has announced they have a list of players who are eligible for the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Would you like to hear some of these players? Because I think it might intrigue you.
Yes.
We have Jared Allen. He's now on. This is his first year of eligibility.
Okay.
Calvin Johnson. He's up there.
He's got to be in, I think.
Peyton Manning.
Uh, uh, easiest one on
Charles
the list.
Woodson.
I'm not sure. Probably leaning towards yes, but not sure.
We have Patrick Willis.
I don't know about that one.
We have Reggie Wayne.
Probably.
We got Hines Ward.
Yeah, I think so.
Rondé Barber.
Yes. I don't know if he makes it first ballot, but probably.
Clay Matthews Jr.
I don't think so.
Richard Seymour.
I don't think so.
And the last one, two more. We'll go over two more. Torrey Holt
Yes.
and Rodney Harrison.
I think so. I don't know. It's so like I feel like you could put that whole 2000s Patriots defense in the Hall of Fame, honestly.
Yeah, you really could. But
Like,
I thought it was cool that they announced that. So you know what?
no,
It was
that's
a
an
nice little
interesting
go
list.
through.
That's an interesting list.
All right. So why don't we go over some game picks here real quick?
Let's do it. We got a Thanksgiving triple header coming up.
Thanksgiving triple header. We have Texans and Lions. Who are you taking?
A funny thing happens. A funny thing happens when we pick these games is that I look at the games and I like have flashbacks to like past games. Like I saw that and I thought of when they met in 2012, and I'm like, wait, that's not who the teams are right now. Texans and Lions. Oh, they're both bad. I will. I will take the. You go. Who do you like?
I'm going to take the Detroit Lions on this one.
Okay, I'll take the Texans to win 2 in a row.
Alrighty. We have football team versus the Cowboys.
Um, I am football team versus the Cowboys. I'll take the. Oh, these are also two bad. How many bad?
I'm going to take the Cowboys if that helps you.
How many bad teams this year? I am going to take the. You took the Cowboys, Sam?
I got the Cowboys on this one.
Yeah, I will. I will take the Cowboys.
Then the big one, the Steelers versus the Ravens.
Yeah, this is the game of the day and possibly game of the week here. The Ravens just haven't shown me enough in their passing game.
They really haven't. They've been faltering here. I got to say the Steelers.
And it's not like it's an easy place to play in Pittsburgh. I'm going to take the Steelers to keep the streak going.
Yep. All right, Sunday, first game, Raiders and Falcons.
I'm going to take the Raiders, I think.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
I'm with you on the Raiders. We have the Chargers visiting the Buffalo Bills.
I think the Bills need this one to continue their run toward the playoffs. I don't really think they can afford to falter here. So,
Yeah, definitely. I think the Bills are taking this one.
Yeah.
We've got the Giants going to Cincinnati to play the Bengals.
I have to take the Giants against the Burrow-less Bengals.
I was going to say, without Joe Burrow, I think the Giants are going to take this one easily.
The Giants defense will eat up Ryan Finley in this one.
All right, this is going to be a fun one, too. The Colts and the Titans.
You go on this one.
I think the Colts with their defense, I think they figured out something from that Thursday night game, and I think they're going to win this one again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a big win for the Colts. I guess the only question here is, do they have kind of like a emotional hangover here? You're taking the Colts. I will take. Well, so the Colts won the last one, and that was in Tennessee.
Yeah.
I am gonna. The Colts defense is too good. I gotta take the Colts.
I want to say it's that defense. They're too good.
I want to take the Titans, but I can't.
We got Panthers and Vikings.
So we have either the PJ Fleck led, not PJ Fleck. I'm sorry.
What?
I'm thinking. Why did I just say PJ Fleck?
That's PJ Walker and Dalvin Cook, basically.
PJ Fleck's a different college quarterback. Sorry.
That's okay.
PJ Walker versus the Vikings. I am gonna take the. Well, do we know if Bridgewater's playing?
No word yet, but honestly, I'm making my decision that I don't think the Carolina defense can handle Dalvin Cook, so I think the Vikings are going to take this one.
I think the way the Vikings are playing, they should be winning more games than they are. So I'm going to take them and hope they can figure it out here.
Yeah, we have the Cardinals going to Boston to play the Patriots.
I feel like if anyone could figure out Kyler Murray, it'd be Bill Belichick. But at the same time, this is not the Patriots team.
It's not the Patriots of old, so I'm not going to bank on them. I think Kyler Murray is going to go in there and beat the Patriots.
Yeah, I'll take the Cardinals as well. They just, I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots win, but I just think the Cardinals have the momentum here, and they just have more, to be honest.
We have the Dolphins versus the Jets.
The Dolphins.
The Jets have nothing to play for anymore.
Until you tell there's no rule that says they have to win a game. Right? Until you show me them doing something different, I think they're going to be the same.
They don't have to win a game. They can go 0-16 like the Browns and the Lions.
Right.
We've got Browns and Jaguars.
I'm going to take the Browns in this one.
I think the Browns are going to take this one easily.
I like their running game, and maybe Baker Mayfield gets back on track against the Jaguars defense.
We've got the Saints in Denver to play the Broncos.
Taysom Hill starting this one?
Not too sure yet. They haven't announced.
All right.
But even with that, I still think the Saints are going to take it. I think the Broncos just are not well equipped to handle the Saints team.
Denver to win their second straight. I don't think I can rant about how terrible Taysom Hill is and then take the Saints. That just wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say that'd be a little weird. So
I'm forced to take Denver here.
I'm taking the Saints though.
Yeah.
We have the 49ers and the Rams.
Yeah, this is another one of those NFC West games that's national that I'm sick of. Uh, between two teams that aren't as good as they've been in the past. Yeah, I mean, I'm taking the Rams. They have the healthy
Yeah, the
quarterback.
Rams, the 49ers are way too banged up.
Yeah.
We have the Chiefs and the Buccaneers.
Uh, I think I mean, again, it wouldn't surprise me if Brady came out and they figured it out after such a bad performance. But I just think, old guard versus young guard, right? Go to yesterday versus go to today. I think
Yeah.
it's too much in the air. Um, so I'm gonna go with the Chiefs in this one. I
This
don't.
one is going to be my bold prediction here. Tom
Right?
Brady has never lost 2 games in a row. I think the Buccaneers will take it.
That can't be right. Really?
Yeah, they were saying that after they lost to the Bears.
Tom Brady has never lost 2 games in a row. I'm gonna look that up to disprove you, and you can move on to the next pick.
That's fine. I think one of the announcers were saying that. So I'm still gonna take the Buccaneers though. Even if that's not true, that's gonna be my bold prediction.
2009, the Patriots go to New Orleans, lose 38-17. The next week, they go to Miami, lose 21-22.
All right, cool. Way to go, Joe Buck.
God damn it, Joe.
But it's all right. I'm still gonna take my bold prediction there. I think the Bucks will figure a way to do this one. I want to make my bold prediction here.
Okay, all right.
We gotta be bold here somehow.
Yeah.
We got the Packers and the Bears. I can't be bold on this one.
Remember how I said, like, I need to stop watching the Bears this year, especially in prime time, and they
And then they're still on prime time because this is supposed to be one
Yeah,
of the greatest
it's where,
rivalries.
like, this is it should yeah, but it's not. It hasn't been a good rivalry in a long time. Uh,
I think
yeah,
2011 might have been the last time it was good.
I'm gonna take the what happened in 2011? No, Packers swept in 2011.
I think the Packers are taking this one.
Yeah, Packers easily.
And a Monday night football game for no one. Seattle's taking on the Eagles.
Eagles again in primetime? Are you kidding me?
Are you shocked?
Why? Look, it's actually funny because I I've been thinking, like, I've been enjoying the NFL this year more than I have in years past. I was like, oh, there's like a lot of good plays here. But like now doing the podcast with you and going through every game, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of shit teams. Anyway, Seahawks.
Seahawks, yeah. You can't like you know what? Thank God for the fucking Steelers and Ravens on Thanksgiving, or else we really have bad primetime games this week.
Ravens, Chiefs, Bucks, and that's about it. I mean, Titans, Colts, if you like 1 o'clock games, which I usually sleep through.
I gotta see though. What is next week's primetime game? Because that's ridiculous.
I don't know.
It's Broncos Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, and then Bills 49ers on Monday.
Broncos, Chiefs, and then that's so annoying. They need more flexible scheduling, honestly.
Yeah, and then the Cowboys take on the Ravens next Thursday.
NFC East, like, stop. NFC East should be on like either local networks or like ESPN, the Ocho, or something, like
I was gonna say we're gonna wait, like we have to wait until week 14 for a good Sunday Night Football one.
TBS. And so I just remembered, and I'm looking at the news here. It looks like Titans added Deshaun Kaiser and Sam Sloman, so I guess they're keeping an eye on Gostkowski here. I just remembered, Sam, the college football playoff rankings were happening while we're doing this podcast, the first one of the year. And just FYI, it is Alabama 1, Notre Dame 2, Clemson 3, Ohio State 4. No surprises there. But just
yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't sound like anything of a surprise at the moment.
No, at this early in the season, it's not. But
I feel like the surprises are gonna start coming later down the season.
Yeah, and then A&M is 5 and Florida is 6. So SEC world as usual. The more things change, the more the state is same. And
pretty much.
I think let's hope for a good Thanksgiving night game. And yeah.
Cary, as always, it's always fun to have you here. Anything you would like to plug again?
Yes, sir. Check me out at my blog. That's footballck. Those are my initials. footballck.wordpress.com. You can find a button to subscribe. You can also check me out at the LA Football Network, and that is lafbnetwork.com, where I'm writing about UCLA weekly. And I'm also on LinkedIn if anyone needs any writing opportunities, podcasts, whatever you need. I'm a freelance writer right now. And I will link this podcast to my blog, and look forward to doing it again next week, Sam.
Of course, I always love having you here. Definitely will be back after some more fun football here. For anyone else, please make sure to follow us on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We post them on YouTube. We have also started a Twitch channel starting this Sunday. We will be going live. I'll have my red zone pulled up. Unfortunately, I won't share it with the world, but we will be doing live reactions from the games as they happen. So definitely make sure to swing by on twitch.tv/Till the Whistle podcast to watch that fun time. Besides that, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day.